I abandoned my father-in-law because he broke my toy.
It's not for kids.
I mean, I hope not. Butt plugs for Djibouti. I moved in with my now fiance back in January of 2022. His stepmom owns the house and his dad owns nothing. His stepmom wanted us to watch the house for them while she did her travel nursing, so someone would be around to keep her cats fed. And of course, the dad went with her. We were not staying there for free. They still charged us rent and we had to pay all the utilities, but between the two of us, it wasn't an issue.
Hey, could you watch my kid? Just make sure you pay me.
For the opportunity to babysit my child.
The honor!
Our cats are so sick. This pussy's so dank that it should be paid to be played with.
Dankest pussy on earth, you know what I mean?
It was a really nice experience being able to finally live with the man I love, and everything was going perfect for the first 3 months. Then we got the notice that they were coming back because the contract was over, and they would be visiting for a couple of weeks before his stepmom got another contract. So I went into super duper cleaning mode because I didn't want it to look like we lived there, right? Lol. Cleaned every room except mine because I wasn't expecting them to go anywhere near it or in it without asking. Just as I never went into their room because that's their stuff. I have a lot of special stuff laying around in my room because it's my private space where I do private things.
How special are we talking over here, Samuel?
Let's just say she recently came back from a mission trip in Djibouti.
Interesting. She recently came back.
So the day comes and they arrive. It's all pleasant greetings and ordering pizza because nobody wants to cook. And somehow a conversation comes up where his dad asked me if I cooked any recipes from his binder of recipes. I told him I didn't because I usually just cook things I know and didn't think to look for a book to get a new recipe. He then decided, I don't know, I don't believe that shit, and went on a hunt to find his binder and looked everywhere in the house and started getting frantic. Tossing the couches apart, lifting tables, and things going everywhere. My fiance was in our room looking for it, so I figured that was good enough. And his dad wouldn't try looking in there himself. I think at this point, this is when you maybe like proactively clean your room just in case this crazy man comes looking for a cookbook and then sees your like 12-inch fun stick in there, you know?
But you know what? What if I proudly want to display my fun stick for the world to say, you know, why should I have to hide it away? You know, it's convenient where I leave it, you know? I can just... The job is done.
The job is done. You know, that John's sitting on something right now. Man needs to be stimulated at all times to ensure that he can read these stories well.
I'm so stimulated. Don't take away my convenience of stimulation. That's all I'm saying.
Don't take it away. Our room is downstairs in a basement with 3 other rooms. And I didn't think much of it when his dad came upstairs and asked me where some scissors were, and I handed him a pair. About 30 minutes later, after food arrived, he looked above the fridge in the super high cabinet and finally found his recipes where he left them. We ate food and watched a movie, and then after saying goodnight, we went to our room. As I was about to lay down, I noticed one of my toys was in a weird spot. Then I got a better look, and the charging cord was cut up in 4 separate pieces with a USB still plugged into the wall and the other part still inside the toy.
Cut?
Cut 4 different pieces.
What did Ezra Scissorhands get himself into over here?
Bro, he's just anti-fun. Dude, man hates stimulation.
Don't take my stimulation away from me. I'll be a grumpy puss.
You can take my guns,
Yep.
but don't take my fun sticks.
That's right. Second Amendment, baby. Oh, how did we end up here?
Let's keep going. So my heart sank and I showed my fiance what happened. He at first thought maybe the cats got to it, but these were clean cuts and the loose parts were in a pile and not scattered. I no longer felt safe in that house. My fiance didn't want to have to confront his dad because he is extremely hard-headed and would probably lead to them fighting and then us getting kicked out. So he begged me to be strong and to not bring it up. I cried so hard that night. Not only did I want to confront him, but I wanted him to pay for the toy because it was super expensive. Felt violated. But is like the whole toy broken or is it just the cord? I mean, the act itself is not cool.
It's so like the weirdness of it is what like it's just like so.
It's like, oh man, I can't charge it for a few hours. I'll just go get a USB-C.
No, I mean the weirdness from the father-in-law. Like, what would possess you?
No daughter-in-law of mine is getting any.
Oh, now I'm connected. Hey, my son ain't enough for you? Oh, wow. Come on, daddy-in-law. Everyone deserves a little fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One in the pink, one in the stink.
That's right. That's how we do it.
I avoided his dad like the plague for the whole time he was there until the stepmom took me aside to ask if I was okay because she knew I was avoiding her husband and wanted to know what happened. So I told her what he did, and she looked mortified and said she would talk to him. The next day, his dad went out early in the morning to go work out for about an hour, but didn't come home until the late afternoon. Me and the stepmom were just having a nice talk in the living room when he came back and was holding his hand like a kid, trying to pretend they are injured and wanted attention. He went straight to the freezer, got an ice pack, and made a scene of going to the bathroom. His wife called out asking what was up, and he said, nothing, like a little immature kid. She asked me if I saw what he grabbed, and I told her he grabbed an ice pack. She called out to him again and said, what happened? Did you hurt yourself? And again, like an immature kid, said, you don't want to know, and closed the bathroom door.
Dude, he was inspired by OP and tried his own fun stick, and it did not.
Yeah. Or maybe he just tried his own fist, broke his wrist.
Dude, all natural.
All natural, baby.
That's what I always say.
You know?
Keep it organic.
Yeah. You know, you got this one, you got this one, you got this one.
Dude, hands are just nature's butt hugs. That's all it is.
What is your favorite combination of fingers? Put your answers in the comments
all
below.
Of you 90% women out there.
Yeah. Oh my God. He eventually came out and came straight to my face very aggressively and said, well, if I wasn't so upset about being accused of cutting your cord, this wouldn't have happened to my hand. He came up with a BS story about how he was shopping at a gas station and some guy was being abusive to his girlfriend, and he told the guy to stop, and the guy swung at him, and so he beat the guy up, and now he has a busted hand.
I am so lost.
He then proceeded to tell me that it was my fiance that cut my cord and he needed to be questioned instead. I was at a loss for words because of how stupid he was and that his wife believed him. I was going to tell him to F off with that BS, but I had to go to work. So on my way to work, I texted my fiance everything that his dad said. He later told me he expected something like this to happen because every time his dad gets caught in a lie, he has to make up some stupid story of him being a victim or some kind of hero to make people empathize with him. For example, he cheated on his wife and got caught. So he went out for a while and supposedly a couple of guys tried to jump him and he killed them both. And his wife believed it. I don't even know what to say to that. When my fiance was younger, he caught his dad in a lie and his dad accidentally poured beer on his Xbox he bought with his own money. He has the mentality of if I'm wrong, then everyone else is. Anyway, back to the story. So my fiance was going to talk with him privately and tell his dad he owed me money for the toy and he said to apologize to me. Unfortunately, his dad canceled their hangout and ended up leaving the next day with nothing being resolved. I wonder who's going to body right now and come back with a crazy story.
True. I had to mollywallop 10 people to save one granny.
One granny.
Come on, dude.
Another few months go by and another in-between visit. I completely ignore his dad, not even give him a glance of recognition that he is there. He pulls my fiance aside one night and tells him he forgives him and has to put the whole thing behind him. I laugh so hard. He's such a narcissist that he believes his own lies. Funny thing is, the toy isn't just for me. My fiance uses them too. So he has no reason to maliciously destroy something he likes. This visit was a lot longer and everyone was so annoying. They wouldn't say anything to my face. They would tell my fiance things to the telephone to me. The last thing was the stepmom saying I needed to be nice to her husband because he's in a good mood when they are out traveling. But when they come back, I'm ignoring him. It puts him in a bad mood and he snaps. Oh, geez. I wonder why. Maybe I'm just a reminder that he's an a-hole that got caught. She said if I didn't act nice, they would kick us out. Oh, please do it. Make my freaking day.
Go ahead.
Find someone else willing to pay your rent, all the utilities, and feed your dumb ass cats that puke everywhere and can't stop eating plastic, and find wrappers in the litter box. OMG, I don't miss it. So I complied and just stayed in my room the whole time and only left to go to work. Christmas came and it was the performance of a life. I felt sick to my stomach pretending to tolerate him. We didn't get him any presents except a toy. No, I'm kidding. A gift card to Adam and Eve. No. except a gift card. I got the stepmom a lot of pamper presents and an auto feeder for her cats because they are huge, massive fat cats. They got us a bunch of hand-me-downs and extra cooking supplies and household items they no longer needed since they are now no longer doing travel nursing. So it sounds like they just gave them the junk they didn't want. And now I'm so happy to be moved out as of January 3rd this year, and we are on our own and don't have to see them every day. We're going to have a family talk soon because if his dad doesn't own up to the shit he has done, we are going 100% no contact. And there is a juicy update. But John, I want to know, and I want everyone else, please put your comments below. Is this enough to go no contact?
I mean, honestly, I'm thinking more of the time when he cheated on his wife and said he saved some damsel in distress from two mean muggers.
Murderous.
It's already beyond ridiculous what he's doing. But in that scenario, that's yo, you are hurting your wife so much and making up these stupid lies that she believes.
I mean, I guess the cheating hurts.
Yeah. So she ended up believing him, right? In the end.
But she still knows he cheated.
Let me know what you think in the comments.
So, update. So we were going to have a time to talk tomorrow, but it has now been canceled. I showed my fiance this Reddit post and had him read the responses. We both got to thinking about how much stress this whole situation has put on us, and neither one of us really wants to see him in person to talk about the situation because 99% positive it will go through one ear and out the next. And he will just deny everything and start talking over us. So instead of going there and wasting time and putting ourselves through lots of yelling and turmoil, we've decided to write him a letter so we can't have a chance to interrupt or try to intimidate us. The letter is already 4 pages long, and it's been hard for my fiance to write because it gets him shaking, having to relive some of the horrendous things his father has done to him and write it down on paper. I would love to share it, but for my fiance's privacy, I won't. There's a lot of things in there that he didn't even tell me till now because he didn't want me to immediately hate his family when we first met, which I guess makes sense. Families can be hard like that.
That is true.
My heart aches for him, and I just want this whole situation to be over with already. We wrote in the letter that he not respond to us for about a week to think it all over and not call or text unless he acknowledges that he did do the things mentioned in the letter and apologize wholeheartedly. And if not, this will be the last time he hears from his son. We are going to be dropping the letter in his mailbox in the middle of the night tonight, so there isn't a chance of him trying to talk to us. If anything comes up before the time we gave him to read the letter and self-reflect, I'll make sure to update here again. And that is a wrap. What a crazy coping mechanism for just avoiding anyone's judgment.
You know what he really needs to do? Start a YouTube channel.
And let his audience psychoanalyze him.
Well, I was going to say he could create these stories.
Endless Reddit stories from this man. You just put him on camera and you make him squirm a little bit. Where were you on the night of the 6th? He's like, I wasn't cheating on my wife because I had to go to San Francisco to help the homeless and ensure that each person had a butt plug from my fiance.
Wow.
Butt plugs for the homeless. That's another one.
That one might be your greatest yet. You've had a lot of great ones, but
universal butt plug. They've heard of UBI, universal butt plug incoming.
You got my vote.
That's what I'm running on. But you know what we should be running on to?
This next story.
And if you have a story yourself, you should submit it to us at 440-508-6567. We'd love to hear it.
Send it in. Let's get into this next one.
We'll get back to the story, but John, remember when you tortured me by making me export a 24-hour-long video?
Oh, the intern days. Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah.
But but now, but the little piece that I love doing it for the people.
Yeah.
I've decided that we should release a 3-hour-long video every single day for them.
That's so generous of you, Riley.
I know that we do it once a week already on our YouTube channel, so
but it's not enough.
It's definitely not enough.
So you're telling me you're going to stay up all night exporting months worth of 3-hour videos?
Oh, not just me. It's going to be me, Keon, and Dakota. Not Sophia. But every single night, exporting 3-hour-long videos just for you guys.
Riley respects women. Only men will be exporting these.
That's right.
So if you want to go check them out, go to YouTube, search OK Storytime Compilations for daily 3-hour compilation videos. All right, let's get back to the story. Entitled Dad says, my child is an investment and hopefully I can live off of her later. Riley, are children investments that you can live off later?
Dude, my great-grandpa was an investment. He had 10 brothers and 1 sister, and they all worked on the farm. So, I mean, depending on what year you were born, it could be an investment.
You know what? That sounds like ROI, return on investment. I, female 23, went to a store to buy some containers for I was making some jam that day, and this entitled father was buying a birthday balloon for his 3 to 4 year old daughter. He said to the cashier, "Geez, kids these days are expensive. My child is an investment, and hopefully she pays off after college so I can retire and hopefully make my life a little easier." By the way he said it, I felt like he was just wanting someone to leech off of, because I have heard of cases of family tracing that some parents feel entitled enough to keep some of their kids back and thus take care of them to the point where they don't even get to have a partner, and thus a family dead end. And I thought of something that might ease her existence, the little daughter. College no longer works because of debt and increasing prices increasing prices and stagnant wages. So I said, the schooling system no longer works. The new way is Hustlers University. Some of you would say that Andrew Tate is a misogynist. I'll be honest. I thought OP was talking about like, the school of hard knocks, like just a metaphor, but he's literally talking about Andrew Tate's Hustlers University. Oh, God. And to that, I quote you, "Even the darkest individuals can shine a light on valuable lessons." You might not agree on some things about him, but his business advice is on point. Plus, in his Discord server, they have a chat where everyone posts their victories, whether exercise or money gains. I saw in there that a boy was 14 and said that he quit his part-time job after his course and has started a clothing brand off which he's doing quite well for himself, and which I would highly recommend you skip school and buy Andrew Tate's course, binge watch it all, and get stuck and don't get stuck in making your life goal don't get stuck and make your life goals a reality. Just imagine when that 14-year-old turns 25, I bet he would have a house sooner than a lot of you who went to school. Riley, is this a bot? Is this Andrew Tate obviously knows of our incredible podcast and our incredible non-Andrew Tate fans, as they should be, female audience, right? Is Andrew Tate trying to usurp his way into our podcast with you as his surrogate, placing this story in front of us to attempt to pitch Hustlers University to our I broke my cardinal rule. No free sponsors.
I just hope that this guy was like joking, like the guy in I'm just thinking that this guy is an old man and
cracking a joke.
He's just cracking a joke. Also, I just realized that female 23.
You're right. I totally, because it was like very at the beginning, I literally completely forgot that OP was a woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
Again, going back to our theory, Andrew Tate is trying to infiltrate. He's like, the only way that the incredible, amazing women of the OKOP podcast is to have a woman share this message.
Yeah.
It's the only way. But it's actually Andrew Tate under a...
This is kind of crazy that this showed up in our subreddit. So,
listen.
Go downvote it, everyone.
Yeah, go destroy Curious Kitten's karma in our subreddit, guys. That would be great. We'll give you an update on it later.
Boyfriend abandons his girlfriend and then demands a room in her house, and it gets so much creepier.
Man, you got the audacity.
This isn't my ex, but my best friend's ex. She, the best friend, and I have been friends for years and live together now. And now we live with my parents who adore her like her own daughter. And I got her permission to post about this. So I guess we have permission to read it to you.
Yup.
My friend, 30 female, came to the US from Latin America at 19 as a student. She also started dating her ex, 29 male, after many years of hanging with each other both during vacations and online. I knew them both since high school, and they seemed good together. She tried to convince him to move together a few years before their breakup. He was living with his parents who wanted him to leave. Nice. At this point, she had already finished college and had a job in the US that granted her a visa. He had to quit college and work part-time. From what I can gather, he didn't want to leave because his parents' place had free food and no rent. Never move out, bro. Never move out. I think I'm
sensing a pattern.
So instead, she asked me if I wanted to move with her so we could afford a bigger place. I said yes, and we moved together, adopted a cat and a dog, and pretty much became Grace and Frankie. Around the start of the pandemic, things got bad for them. This is what I was told and what I saw. They never talked or hung out or anything. I was in a breakup at the time myself, so I wasn't really on top of it since I had my own issues, but my friend cried so much. She didn't even get a happy birthday. After a year of no contact, she assumed the relationship was over. After a year? There was no clarity on that?
Sorry, babe. I was so busy trying to lock down this free rent and free food.
She changed all her social media to single, which he could see, took him off her emergency contacts at work and at her doctor's, and just moved on with her life. This year, my stepdad's health has gone downhill, and my mom needs help caring for him. She works full-time as a therapist, kind of like us, and I work from home, and my job is very flexible. So I put the idea of us all living together, and I'll care for my dad. Eventually, I'll care for my mom too. My mom loved the idea and asked my bestie if she wanted to move with us too, so we could all be together, and also because at this point, I can't see myself not being in the same house as her. We've come to terms in being single ladies. Heck, we've joked that one of us should adopt and we'd just become a parent-aunt dynamic. And now the joke is more serious since I'm considering it and she's incredibly supportive. No, we're not dating. She's straight, I'm bi. We're just incredibly close after all the BS we've lived through together. Wait, they're gonna adopt the kid?
I mean, there's platonic life partners. CNBC Make It did a great video on it, and they profiled the finances of life partners.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We found a perfect house, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, even enough space for a yard, everything we need. And we got it after a bunch of difficulties and arrangements. Since I don't have immediate plans for adopting yet, I have a ton of paperwork and years of planning ahead. We made the extra room into our office/gaming hub. We both work at the same place, totally not in purpose. They were hiring and we both needed visas. And as proud first-time homeowners, we posted pictures. Her ex, who by this point has been MIA for 3 years, messaged her saying he was so excited to move into the new house.
Sir?
That is bananas. She told him this is her house with me and my parents. He said since they were a couple, she should kick me and my parents so he could move in. 3 years after they just split effectively.
Stop talking.
I want to point out that my parents bought the house. We, friend and I, will pay them our parts over the years. And if she decides to move out, I'll finish paying and I'll buy her part out. This is all in paper and signed. So she obviously told him he was not moving with us and that he ghosted her. So there was no relationship. He went on a tirade that he never broke up with her, that she was abandoning him, that she never cared about him, etc. I got pissed off, took the phone from her and told him he could live in a bear cave for all I care, but to leave my friend in our house alone. He went ballistic and began calling us some names referring to the LGBTQ plus community.
Oh my God.
That would probably get this post flagged, so I'll leave it to your imagination. My friend started crying and I was absolutely done with him. I never thought he was abusive, but my friend confessed to me that this was not new. He always had issues with the two of us living together and accused her often of cheating on him with me. We ended the call and I told her she needed to block him for our own sanity and her sanity too. She deserves so much better than this man-child. She got me to leave my abusive ex when I was in high school. She took me to the hospital when he beat me up and called my parents. My friend is family and I'll be unalive before I let some mustard with commitment issues make her suffer. Since then, he's gone on a major campaign in our friend group to say my friend abandoned him and left him homeless since apparently he canceled his lease after he saw we bought a house. He also claims we're lesbo Satanists that probably abuse our pets and are mooching off my parents. Most of my friends know the story and know my friend and I moved together at first out of necessity, then we just don't see ourselves not living together. So yeah, my friend's ex is a nutcase, and if he ever gets close to her again, I will personally give him a free vasectomy. And there is an update, some 2 juicy updates actually.
I love how he said that they were mooching off their parents when he
is mooching off them.
Literally, he's like, oh, I don't want to leave because it's free rent and free food. And it's like,
yeah, he's mooching off his parents
bruh,
so intensely, dude.
Make it make sense.
I just don't understand how he could come out of the woodwork after 3 years and be like,
could you imagine?
Saw you got that house. I mean, we're about to get a house right now.
That's right.
I wonder who's going to come out of the woodwork when we make our Instagram post. We do Love Island with all of our exes.
Oh my God.
Or The Bachelor.
Dude, I would
to
be
stay in the
a
house?
highly paid Patreon member to see Sam do Love Island with his past lovers.
Yikes. There is an update, so let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Some people asked if our friends knew where the ex was hiding for 3 years, and I was actually curious. Since I was down for the count at work today, I had some time to check in with my friends and find out more. Apparently, my bestie did ask them, but they didn't know. From what they tell me, he kind of got back into everyone's life in the last year or so, but he was part of the friend group because they were bestie's friends, not really his. I don't personally know many of his own friends, to be fair. So he's kind of like weaseled his way back in over the last year. He's been doing some recon.
Wow.
I did track down the ex's sister thanks to social media and poked her for info. She's very nice and always treated my bestie right. I told her what her brother did, and her response was very interesting. Apparently, the ex was dating other girls until his parents decided to move outside of the United States of America. He's now living in a friend's couch. Last she heard was a couple of days past when they went out for coffee. He was saying he got a brand new house and was going to be moving in this week. What the As far as she knew, my bestie begged him to take her back and let her live in his house. I did correct her and said that, no, bestie is living with me and my parents in our new house. Her reaction was, of course he lied, and just thanked me for letting her know he was bullshitting. Aside from that, I do want to report we are safe. He doesn't know where we live, and most people don't because we're not really ready to open Pandora's box and having friends come over. We also need time to figure out who we want in the know. We won't be going to the police unless something serious happens, just because this is technically not a crime, but we are going to keep recordings and print text conversations if he ever tries anything. We have all our papers in order, and just in case, I plan to contact our company's HR so they know the situation. The company we work for can provide us free legal counsel if things get bad, which is awesome. That's a really nice company.
Yeah, for real.
And John, there is a third juicy update. For a bit, it was actually pretty calm. She did cut contact and block him as many suggested. And between the two of us, my bestie and I did some howling in our friend group of people we knew were passing information to her ex, cutting out all the double agents. We've settled in the new house together, and she actually gets along better with my parents somehow than I do. Guess she's the golden child now. Sadly, eventually, we had to adult and get much needed food. We went to Walmart in town together, and by some bad luck, we crossed paths with her ex. I wish all of it was just awkward glances at each other in the way, but no, at first he tried to talk to her. My friend said she didn't want to speak to him and didn't want him near her. I mostly reminded him I wanted to rip his spine and beat him to death with it. Sadly, that didn't deter him from following us around like the most obnoxious toilet paper stuck to the shoe. We did our shopping and headed to the car with him still after us. I told my friend for her to get into the car and start the gear and lock it while I loaded the groceries. Her ex then decided to appeal to me to talk to my friend about taking it back. I don't know what power held me from committing a felony, but pretty sure I've earned a PhD and self-control by this point. I told him in no uncertain terms, were he to keep following us, I will make sure his legs were out of the equation. I got into the car and my friend began driving back when we noticed a car following us. And we knew it was following us because the direction we were going was not usual. To rule out a possible neighbor, we actually did a full U-turn almost back to the store to stop and get some fast food, ate in the parking lot, and headed again back home. And the same car was after us. Now, as much as I talk about violence, I have to admit I was terrified. So was my friend. Neither of us has a bun permit. Best we carry is a can of pepper spray. And we know her ex does have buns. So yeah, we were not comfortable at that point. Instead, we headed past our neighborhood and following the usual advice from TV, drove to a police station. And I got scolded about the confrontation in Walmart's parking lot. The reason we know it's her ex was because when we got home, she got a call from him in a new phone number saying, I know where you live now. We immediately called the police, so there's where we stand. Cops just left a few minutes ago, and my brother is going to be staying over for a few weeks until we get the RO and some sturdier locks. Also, I want to clarify a few things. A lot of people asked why originally my friend took a whole year of being ghosted to accept the relationship was over, which we were asking too. Why? While I get it, trust me, please understand that when my friend came to the US, she had no one. She's cut contact with her toxic family. She literally only had her ex. I moved into the US a year later and also came alone at first, but my parents were able to become citizens and I had them. When her relationship died out, she lost not just her boyfriend, but his family, who pretty much were as close to her own family as she could get. It's not easy, and I personally can't imagine how lonely she felt. I could spend Christmas with my parents. She had no one that first year. So please don't judge her on it because she doesn't deserve it. It's not easy to be an immigrant when we have no place to return to. And that, my friends, is a wrap.
There you have it. Wow. What a insane
dude.
person.
Psycho dude. And the thing is, like, that is somewhat common.
Yeah.
Like, I was living with one of my friends, who was a roommate in college, and he was dating this artist girl.
Mm-hmm.
She was like one of those like grungy artist girls that's like, you know, has like the crazy hairstyle, dresses in all black, is like, you know, wearing the crazy fingernails and stuff. And she would make the craziest art too. I had only heard about her a little bit. My friend was like, oh, like she's like a brilliant artist, like really, really talented. She was his TA in the art program. So I hear all about her. And then we were looking for this, a place to live. And she's like, oh, she'll live in our apartment building. And we're like, oh, sick. That's great. Like we can get a deal. And so we go into the apartment building. She kind of welcomes us in and shows us around her apartment. And we go in and every wall is covered in some of the most horrific painting that I have ever seen. And it's horrific because of one very specific thing. So on every, I kid you not, every single like painting, there was even statues. There were pictures of men with their penises completely cut off. There was a whole cut off dick painting where they were scattered throughout this field. There was like cut off dick statues, cut off dick everything. And I remember after we were in her apartment, I'm like, Will, like, you better not cross this girl ever.
Yeah.
She will cut off your penis and turn it into an art project.
Dude. Put it in a gallery.
So a few weeks later, things are not going well in the relationship.
Oh,
and he's
no.
like, hey, I got to end it. Everything seems like completely fine for a couple days. And we're all hanging out in our apartment and we hear this banging on the door. Bang, 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 bang. And she's like, let me in, let me in. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? And so we put my friend in his room and we're like, hey, we'll take care of this for you. Cause like probably not good for
You to
him.
be there.
Yeah.
She didn't hurt to know.
And she's at the door and she's carrying this cake. And we're like, hey, like, is there something you want? She's like, I need to give this cake to him. I need to give this cake to him. And I'm like, hey, I don't think it's a good idea for you to come, but maybe we can set a time for you guys to talk later. I just don't think it's a good idea. She's like, no, I need to give him this cake. And we're like, hey, I don't think that's a good idea. She throws the cake on the ground and tries to line back her way through us into her apartment. She successfully, because she sprung on us, she successfully gets past both of us and is running towards Will's room. And we like grab her and we're like, please get out of our house. Like, this is not okay. And then as soon as we grab her, she goes limp and just like drops on the floor and will just like not move. And so we literally have to drag her screaming out of our apartment and lock the door behind us. And she did not leave. We drag her out and we're like, girlfriend, you cannot come in. And so we go back, lock the door, and she was literally banging on our door for probably until 2 a.m. And then we would go out to this Japanese grocery store across the street, and she would follow us into the grocery store and just like a White Walker, a zombie, be like 10 feet back and just look at us and follow us around. It was crazy. It was the most insane ex-girlfriend thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Makes you ask one question.
What?
How crazy was the box?
Yeah. Probably crazy. Probably super crazy.
Oh.
He did say it was like pretty nuts.
What is it? The carpet matches the drapes.
Yeah.
Crazy downstairs and crazy upstairs, baby.
Not worth it. Not worth
it.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I am just blind to the wonders of what can happen. But I was in college at that point. I had never seen someone act like that in my life.
I've never seen anything.
It was terrifying because she would like leave notes everywhere. And like we thought she had poisoned the cake or something. I don't think that's true. But like we were just like,
you don't know. Like,
you don't know because it's like I think she just became like unhinged a little bit.
Yeah.
You just like you could just, sometimes you just like lose it a little bit.
Dude.
Breakups are crazy.
You just took me through a thriller of a story. This is some,
I got some stories.
You do.
I got some stories.
You do have
bro.
some stories.
Got some stories. I asked my girlfriend to help out around the house. She refused and made her maid do everything. My female 25 girlfriend, female 35, and I have been living together and getting married soon. The relationship has been beautiful, except for a few issues at hand. By the way, this comes from your anonymous hater on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. She cannot process without a servant. She has always had a maid at hand, and we'll call her Mary. When we moved in together, initially Mary did not come with her. Within just 15 days of moving in, girlfriend asked if she can call Mary because she is having trouble with everything. I couldn't understand what she needed help with since we already have house help who does most of the work ranging from cleaning, mopping, dishes, etc. Damn, they must be rich. Like a live-in maid almost, it seems like. Like they already have house help and then they're getting someone on top of it.
My guess, OP is like the sugar mama, deep in her career making bank, and then the younger girl came from a rich family.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would if I was OP, I'd watch out for the point when they're like, "Hey, let's start waxing some stuff."
Great point. We got to strip it clean.
It was worth it. I couldn't understand what she needed help with, and I wasn't okay with someone living with us full time. I like my space and my comfort, and I did not want an extra person in my space all the time. I tried to help my girlfriend with everything as much as I could, but she still seemed uncomfortable. I need Mary. I feel like it needs to be more Butler-esque, like Marinald. Or
Reginald.
Reginald, but with an M because it says they start with M.
Reginald.
Reginald. So she then told me she still is having trouble doing things and is used to having Reginald around. So she wants her and that she will also help us managing the house. Reginald came in a combo deal with my girlfriend. I didn't mind much back then, except that I had to empty up my storage room to make space for Reginald.
Live-in. Wow.
Yeah, no, it is a live-in maid. This is no
still
joke.
not enough?
Still not enough. And they have other house help too. So it's like, wow. Anyway, she has had Reginald since she was 18. I quickly realized Reginald does a lot of stuff for her, which is okay. Reginald, wipe. Reginald, wax. Wax off. Now wax on, Reginald. Stick it back on.
Oh, God.
You know I love my butt toupee. Eventually, I realized how dependent my girlfriend is on Reginald, even for the most basic tasks. Tasks that could easily be done by any functioning human that would literally take seconds. Some tasks that Reginald did that bothered me were chopping vegetables before we begin cooking, changing bed sheets, holding her heavy bag when she went out, cleaning her shoes and gave them to her before she left the house, picked up her shoes and put them on the shoe rack when she got back, ironed her clothes, picked up her plates after eating, picks up coffee cups and water bottles she leaves all around the house, picks up clothes she throws around in the changing room, turning on the water heater before she took a shower, cleaned her work table, cleaned up spills she carelessly made, takes her pack of cigarettes to wherever she is sitting in the house. This is rich people shit, but this is crazy.
Yeah.
All of this bothered me so much. It was like seeing a little toddler throwing tantrums and mother taking care of it without disciplining the child. This is how they've lived for years. So you've lived with Reginald for years. She pays Reginald well and takes care of her well-being, and they're really close too, like friends because she isn't very old. Eventually, I got used to it, except that my girlfriend dumped all household chores on Reginald and decided to not do anything at all. She never helps with any house job, and when I asked her to, she says, "I got you a maid, ask her, don't bother me." I get that her work is very demanding. She returns home almost exhausted every day. I pamper her as much as I can because I work half the hours she does. I always get a lot of extra time. I enjoy hobbies and go out with friends. And she doesn't get the time to do all of that all week. So she tries to make up for it on weekends. She spends the weekends enjoying her hobbies. We go out. She'll go drinking with her friends. If ever I try to get her to do any household chores, she tells me to tell M to do it. So, all right, wait, really quick. So some people are saying they need to leave, but I'm going to devil's advocate for a second, right?
I'll devil's advocate with you. I know exactly what you're going to say.
So John and I, we're in a relationship together.
Oh, yeah, dude.
John, deep. John's waxing all of my, all
of his orifices.
Like maybe you're working less than I am. I'm coming home super late.
Mm-hmm.
We get a maid for the house, live-in maid. I don't know if you would be saying like if we have a maid, why would you not just tell any chore that needs to be done to the maid that we're paying full time to do those kinds of things?
Yeah. Yeah, like we've seen this scenario a lot of like someone doesn't help around the house and we're like, hey, if you have the means, wouldn't you want to like, you know, hire someone to help clean so you can spend more time with your partner, like if you actually like them?
What it sounds like is OP wants, well, I guess, like, why does OP want her girlfriend to do the chores instead of Reginald?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's a like, hey, you're kind of like losing touch with like for instance, like spilling something and walking away or something.
Right.
Like,
you're losing touch with
negligent.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So maybe it's like, hey, you had a spill. Like I think what it sounds like is it's getting to the point where it's a lot of carelessness.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's necessarily like, maybe it's not necessarily chores. Maybe it's like, hey, you're like spilling everywhere.
Yeah, which honestly, it is unclear to me too. Like, I don't know exactly what the angle is, but
Lisa P says, why does girlfriend have to do chores exactly? I don't know if she does. Does she have to do chores?
Yeah, it seems unclear. I don't know if OP's doing chores. Like, if they're able, it very much seems like they can pass on all of the like household work to their freaking, you know, Navy SEALs 6 team of house aid and maintenance. So like, there's probably not an imbalance issue of like OP doing a bunch of stuff and her not.
Well, I think so. John is 200 said not to do the chores. They're saying, but relying on someone else and not being able to even take care of themselves and expecting others to clean up their messes.
Yeah.
I mean, I do get that. But I think also if like someone is like working as demanding a job as OP's girlfriend seems to be working, maybe it's like they literally do not have the time, and it would be a problem if they didn't have this help, but they're like, I'm just trying to offload everything that I don't care about to this other person.
Maybe this is also being unsaid, but maybe she's like treating the other people poorly.
It says that she's treating Reginald well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I totally see what you're saying, and I think I kind of agree of like, if we have a whole team of people that can help and can afford it, is there anything necessarily wrong with that? I don't know.
I think it's, if we had a live-in maid, I don't think I would ask you to like if there's dishes in the sink.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be saying like, oh, like do the dishes. We would have the live-in maid do it. Right?
I think yes.
If I persist, she'll make up something and leave the house and go play games at her friend's house. I have tried to explain to her that some basic tasks need to be done by oneself. And this house is ours, and it's our responsibility, not M's. I have told her I would like her to be involved in the house more, but I do not think she even wants to do that. It's like she has made up her mind that she can afford a maid and she didn't have to do any basic tasks. I've also raised my concerns on what if Reginald leaves us one day, to which her reply is, she will never leave.
That's a little ominous.
Never!
Jeez.
She refuses to change these bratty habits. How do I deal with this? How do I get her to not be extremely dependent on her maid? TLDR, girlfriend is dependent on the maid, even for the most basic tasks, and it's frustrating to me.
Okay, I just saw the keyword bratty.
Yeah, so I think it's less like she's not folding the clothes and doing the dishes, and more like even before Reginald gets to it, it's like she's leaving spills everywhere, and it's just like a trail of breadcrumbs.
Like it's spilling into her personality, and she's kind of has this, maybe it's like a kind of like a obnoxious, entitled kind of like personality, and OP's like, hey, maybe if she finally like takes responsibility for stuff around the house, she'll stop like behaving this way. Because I think I'm like, if Reginald can take care of everything and they've communicated that and Reginald is on board and is happy, I think that's okay. But
I think honestly, maybe this is an unpopular opinion. I think the situation as is, where Reginald is taking care of everything.
Yes.
And it doesn't affect OP too much, and all household chores are taken by Reginald. You don't need to be asking OP to do anything. Just ask Reginald to do it because she's taking care of it all. If it gets to the point where even Reginald cannot take care of the hurricane of mess that OP's girlfriend is creating, then that's where it becomes a problem.
I think I agree. And also, one could argue, if I'm grabbing the devil's advocate and diving into hell, OP is focusing on the wrong issue. If it is truly about her attitude, which is an assumption I'm making, then like talk to her about that and how like, I don't know, maybe that is just like, I don't know, not enjoyable to be around, or whatever negative emotions you feel from it, instead of like masquerading as if it's like, oh, you're just like not like cleaning up for yourself. I don't know. I feel like it's,
I want to get to the bottom of like, why does OP want their girlfriend to clean up after themselves.
Yeah. If everything is, she's like, oh, well, you have to have respect for the house. I'm like,
but that's like OP is having respect for, or OP's girlfriend is having respect for the house by getting a maid.
yeah, and
Saying
making,
like she's not
sure
just
so.
leaving the mess.
Yeah,
you know?
and it does seem like she has at least created an understanding with Reginald. Like Reginald is doing the job. OP is seeing that. So if Reginald is doing the job, then
what's the problem?
What are we doing?
I think it's like the last thing I'll say on this is it might be that, you know, like when two people are like want to eat food and one person really likes to cook and the other person wants to like order out, and the person who loves to cook is like, why don't you cook with me? And it's like, well, why would I cook when I could just order out? And the person who's cooking is like, well, like, don't you get joy from like putting the meal together and like seeing it there and like knowing that you made this? And like I think it's OP seeing the home as something that you make in a similar way.
Exactly. They need to address their differences and expectations.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think there is anything wrong. I don't think OP's girlfriend is doing anything actually super wrong, as long as Reginald is doing it. It's a difference in values.
We'll
as
see,
Burpee says.
but maybe there's no way hills.
There's a little bit more to the story.
Oh.
There's an edit. So I see the concern over the maid's age as child exploitation. I can assure you, having maids in Southeast Asia is pretty common. Everyone has them. My girlfriend met Reginald when she returned back home from her hostel. Reginald's mom works with my girlfriend's family. This isn't how they met. When Reginald was young, she wasn't the maid. They get along well. Girlfriend's parents took care of Reginald's education, and later girlfriend takes care of Reginald and vice versa. Girlfriend takes care of Reginald's well-being, takes care of her when she is sick, her investments, food, clothing, etc. Basically whatever is required. Because this worked well, when my girlfriend was moving away from home, it was decided by both families, girlfriend and Reginald's, that Reginald will go with her. Reginald is treated with the utmost respect here, and they are more like friends because they have grown up together and they've somehow bonded and love each other. Also, by she will never leave, it doesn't mean she cannot leave, but that they love and respect each other, and Reginald wouldn't abandon her, and practically there is no way Reginald could afford the life she has right now. She basically gets everything, and all the money she earns gets invested, zero expenses, and she gets to see her parents whenever girlfriend goes to see her parents. I can assure you there is no exploitation. My problem is just the dependence. It's like her to be more involved in the house. It's our house. I want her to go grocery shopping with me, know where things are kept in the house, understand how the kitchen works, help in cooking. Just be more involved and present, not just go ask Reginald to do it. And there is another edit. By the way, you can join us live on YouTube every weekday, 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile. Edit 2. Some comments here took me back to an incident. Girlfriend, while having a random chat with Reginald, told her lovingly, of course you'll be the one taking care of my kids. This took me back, like it was just assumed that Reginald would be the nanny. I told my girlfriend we should be the ones taking care of the kids. They're our kids. She just brushed it off and said, yeah, we will, but we will need help. Who better than Reginald? Makes me wonder how involved she's going to be with the kids. I certainly do not want to raise a child with a maid. You are in a poly relationship at this point, and you have to just accept that.
Well, here's the thing. Are we ready? Children can feel neglect and trauma, etc. Houses cannot.
That is true. That is true. But platinum rule.
Got him.
Platinum rule. I think there's nothing terrible going on here except just a difference in values. And different expectations and a different lifestyle. I think OP is not accepting that this is just kind of how this person has been since 18. So get with the program or realize this is not like your partner. And I don't think OP's girlfriend is really doing anything wrong, honestly. This
Bite me, eviscerate me. OP is the a-hole.
I think OP may be the a-hole.
Because she is taking her expectations and like really pushing them onto OP.
Yeah.
And it seems like Reginald's well taken care of. The house seems well taken care of. Like now the child, a completely different story because a child can, feel neglect and all of those other things.
Yes. Yeah.
Entitled dad demands we pay for his food. What he did next was unforgivable.
Instead of eating the food, he ate my butt.
Then he asked for dessert. This mostly involves me, 33 non-binary, my wife, 36 female, a former friend of mine, Aaron, 43 female, and his son, Ethan. These are set across a 6 or 7 year period, and I have way too many, but consider this the greatest hits. Shortly after my mom kicked me out at the age of 17, the day after Christmas, don't worry, she'll have her own post eventually, after crashing with my best friend's family, I moved into my first place. It was an absolute slum, but was only $200 a month, utilities included. Dude.
I mean, how much of a slum we talking? Like, are we talking like a literal slum?
Dude, I wasn't there very long, but in that time, I had a couple of roommates, but eventually my girlfriend, now wife, moved in. By chance, we met an old friend of mine who had moved away at the grocery. We catch up, and after a few pretty solid days of hanging out, he introduces us to his friend group. One of these people is Aaron. Aaron was a decade older than us, but he was a big gamer, loved Dungeons and Dragons, comics, fantasy novels, Star Wars, anime.
A decade older.
Dude.
That's probably what Jack feels about us. It's like, oh yeah, I have these friends that are a decade older than me, but they're pretty cool. We have this friend who's like a YouTuber and he's like 19, super, super smart, but we're just ancient, dude.
Ancient.
We're ancient compared to him.
And Aaron was basically the older brother of that friend group who were a bunch of 20-something nerds. My wife and I hit it off with him really well. Despite my description of him, he was a pretty charismatic guy. Well, after hanging out for a few weeks, he'd mentioned that he was the super of the building that we lived in. He was, in fact, not the super of the building, and his parents owned the place. That was true. He let us know that the apartment across the hall from him was opening up soon, and we jumped at the opportunity to get out of the hellhole we lived in.
The $200 hellhole.
The $200 one.
Damn, great price though.
Yeah, right?
I really want to know what that looks like.
Same. About a month later, we ended up as neighbors. Things started out fine for the most part. Aaron was recently divorced, and his son, Ethan, who was 1 at the time, lived with him full time. In the beginning, he worked at the local KFC, and he got free rent from his parents. Pretty nice. All he needed to pay was utilities. Well, for whatever reason, I honestly can't recall, he was let go from KFC. From that point on, Aaron would not have a job for the next 4 years. Damn. Chronically jobless out here.
Damn. It's not like he was looking for like something crazy. He was working at KFC. Like there's a lot of jobs like working at KFC that are out. And so it's not like that's like a job that's rare.
That's true.
Right?
There should be something for our man out there.
Unless he just sucks at making that chicken.
Or he's too loyal. He's like, Long John Silver's Taco Bell, get out of my face.
No. Not
Never,
about that
would
life.
never. Now, I'm not going to disparage anyone for not having a job. It happened to me. However, Aaron at the time was more than capable of working. He just didn't. Instead, he played a lot of games, especially MMOs.
Yeah, so it's like RuneScape, like World of Warcraft, those kind of things.
Especially massively multiplayer online games like RuneScape, that kind of thing. He was always hitting up his other friends for cash and gifts. However, this got to the point where people would stop playing with him altogether, which makes perfect sense. During this time, he'd often hit me and my wife up for money and gifts as well. On top of that, anytime we'd head to the grocery store, he'd hand us gift cards and things and expect us to bring him food too.
Wait, he would give you gift cards? That sounds sketchy. That sounds like some dark net shit. Bro, you've heard of like the gift card scams and shit where it's like, pick up a gift card, put in my name, give me the code. I don't know. That sounds sketchy. If he's paying in gift cards, there's some sketchy shit going on.
And getting other people to buy things for. Like, bro, this ain't DoorDash. Like,
because gift cards are like kind of untraceable.
Right. It's like basically cash almost. Literally every time we go to get groceries, he does this. I live in a very walkable city and don't drive, so we'd be carrying back food for this guy and his kid. Anytime we didn't, he'd throw a huge tantrum, the dad, not the son to be specific, and talk about how we were taking food out of his son's mouth or punishing him for being a parent. Now, because my wife and I are child-free, he'd say, we didn't understand because we hated children. We don't hate kids, mind you, and little Ethan was basically like a nephew to us. Every once in a while, he'd also convince some of our driving mutual friends to take him on grocery runs, but those only happened maybe 2 or 3 times per friend because they wouldn't put up with him like he would.
This guy doesn't have a car.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a wallet, only has hundreds of gift cards, and this emaciated child
Goes to the grocery store with RuneScape in-game currency trying to buy loaves of bread. I'll buy you 3 loaves of bread for this wood.
I will trade you this emerald sword for a carton of eggs.
Darn inflation. I need a platinum sword these days. Oh my God. Now, this would all come to a head when he tried to guilt trip some of our friends, streamers, on a stream at 1 a.m. for not dropping everything to drive across town, pick him up, and buy him dinner. This is 3 days after they bought him a $300 gaming chair because his fat butt broke his old one. All of that and driving across town
town to build it for him too. They built the chair too. This man has gotten too much. When I say his fat butt, I really mean it too. He was pushing 500 pounds. Now, I am pretty heavy set myself. A lot of my friends and family are. I completely get it. However, one of the things he did was constantly eat out. Hopefully the food. He would eat really big meals at buffets or order multiple pizzas. Is this like Nico Avocado or something?
Yeah.
He said he liked cooking, but he basically never did. This did not help his weight and very much did not help his budget. During this time and later when he finally got his new but short-lived job, he was always asking my wife to watch Ethan while he went out to who knows where. We're talking 5 to 10 hours at a time, sometimes for days on end. She saw Ethan more than Aaron did. Like literally, they are watching his child more than he is watching his own child. For free, for sure. There's no way he's paying him.
Wow. I have a feeling that his life has got like, maybe he got like divorced or his wife died, his health plummeted. And like, these are all old friends from his previous life where he was like taking care of himself.
He's treating his friends like the buffet that he loves chow down on. We were there for diaper changes, baths, potty training, meals, all of it. My wife basically raised him. All of this without pay other than him occasionally buying us some food. Because his divorce was insanely bad, his wife tricked him into having Ethan by lying about birth control, stole his car, crashed it, resulting in him losing his car, having his license revoked, and then cheating on him with his best friend and running away with the best friend.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Dude has been through it. He was super depressed all the time. His place was always torn up as well. The grossest place I've ever seen, and he'd convinced my wife and me to clean it for him. Once again, using his son as a guilt trip. Somewhere along the line, he let Ethan whiz all over the floor and spill juice and stuff. So his carpet floor was always covered in mildew. Oh my goodness. The bathroom was a wreck as well, covered in human waste, grime, and more. There was toys and trash everywhere. Both he and his son slept on a mattress on the floor as well because they had to get rid of their bed frames.
Why?
Why, you may ask? Because of the bed bugs.
Wait, bed frames and the bed bugs? Bed bugs in the bed frame? Yeah, couldn't they? Aren't they in the mattress?
I think so.
I was thinking like maybe he's like too big and like would kill the bed frame.
The bed bugs plagued our building for years, but he wouldn't report them to his parents because they'd kick him out if he or we did. Dude.
Man is going through it.
He had a washer and a dryer provided by his parents, unlike the rest of the units in the building.
Where's his parents?
Dude, that is a great question. Like, if they can help with the rent, maybe there's, I mean, of all the people mentioned, the parents, I think, should be lending a hand the most here. The dryer broke about 2 years after we moved in, and he wouldn't report it to his parents for the same reason. This meant that he and his son wore wrinkled, mildewed clothes all the time. It got to the point where he convinced my wife to take their clothes whenever she went to the laundromat, and of course, she was paying.
I mean, this guy's depressed. This is all signals of depression. I mean, he's massively depressed. He's not taking care of himself. It does not sound like he is in a position to take care of his kid.
It honestly doesn't.
Like, I don't think at all.
Somewhere along the line, he had gotten bitten by a spider on his leg, which he nearly had to remove. This was apparently a combination of him not going to the ER soon enough and something about his diabetes. Luckily, after making all of these plans with us to take care of him throughout his recovery, his leg was intact. However, he would then go on to use his quote unquote rotten leg, his words, to milk more sympathy out of everyone around him.
Dude, come on.
Now, thankfully, his dad, who also owned some local car washes, ended up hiring him to be a car washer to bring in a bit of money here and there. Dude, the parents have got to hire him. I'm so like, or I don't know, like it seems like they have the means. Like,
I mean, that's what they're trying to do, right?
I think so. Hire him here and there. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
hire
know.
him full time if he owns a car wash.
Like have him do like accounting or, you know, keep booking. I don't know, something. Now, don't get me wrong. His parents were abusive a-holes. I get it. Okay, well, there's some context. But right after working there 1 year, he got into a huge fight with his dad about being late all the time and he quit. At that point, his dad also started charging rent. Oh man. Because of this whole debacle, we started making big meals for both households to keep his food costs down, all while still providing free grocery pickups, childcare, laundry service, cleaning, etc. Honestly, a real quick pause. I'm almost like, should OP and their wife like adopt Ethan?
I mean, they're already taking care of him. Like they're already saying, I feel like they're kind of just put with this like responsibility. It's an even more thing to like take him full on. But I am worried for Ethan. Like
100%.
He probably need to call CPS. But it's like always like with CPS, it's like, are you actually getting your kid into a better?
Yeah.
That I would love to know anyone who's been through the child like protective service system or foster system. Like it sounds like this guy is like super neglectful.
Yeah.
But like, would the kid be actually better off in foster care? I wonder.
I'm very curious. Let us know in the comments if you have any context or know about that. By this time, Ethan was in school as well. So my wife would walk him to and from school before taking care of him in the evening. We also started giving them $500 a month to help him get back on his feet with the promise he would start looking for a job. Man, they're really doing it.
They're really helping him out.
Right out of the gate, he said he wouldn't do anything that had him on his feet because of his rotting leg. Fair, I guess, but he also wouldn't work a temp job or at a call center. Also, because of not driving, it had to be within walking distance, but not too far because of the weight and his leg. So the only jobs he could take were online, which, okay, yes. So instead of looking for data entry or something, he decided he would be a streamer. F me.
Okay. You can make money as a streamer.
Yes.
As a podcaster.
Yep.
But it takes years.
Dude.
It takes years of making no money. And you have to be dedicated.
Yes.
It's an investment.
Yep. Especially streaming. Like streamers go so hard, especially on the come up. I would imagine like 8 hours a day at least.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's intense.
Dude. And then this guy really won't ever leave his house. That is, I don't know if that's the best. That summer, his AC broke along with his oven. Again, instead of reporting this to his dad, the landlord who was responsible for these things, he begged me and my wife to pay for the fixes. This time around, I got an offer to move into an apartment complex literally only 3 miles away that was exclusively for artists. I was a full-time artist working in game development and doing some freelance photography and graphic design on the side. So this was a huge opportunity for me. Well, guess what? He started guilt tripping me and my wife about it, saying that if we moved away, he'd never see us again and that we were being unfair to Ethan. 3 miles. That's all it was.
He demands so much. So the most.
The absolute most. Honestly, I guess he was right, but I'm getting ahead of myself. By this time, all of my friends had had enough of him. They figured he was fun enough to hang out with, but he started being a jerk to all of them too. Like for instance, storming out of multiple D&D games because he didn't like how they were going and not playing for months before coming back like nothing ever happened and then doing it all over again. No one but me and my wife would even talk to him after all that. So knowing what an opportunity moving into the artist collective would be, my friends had an intervention with me. They explained that I was being manipulated and instead of helping him and his son, I was being an enabler and that I needed to move and support my family.
That might be true.
Yeah.
There's help and then there's a certain point where it's actually not helpful to help.
I think it is good that the friends are sitting OP down and like bringing this to their attention. With much protest from Aaron, we have moved. However, I would still go for visits and my wife still occasionally babysat for Ethan. We also still paid him $500 a month. That was until I gave him a cookbook about cooking on a budget and he lost his mind. I told him that I really wasn't comfortable with him wasting all the money I gave him on junk food and that he should at least try to cook healthy for him and his son. At this point, Ethan was getting bullied for being overweight and his teachers had started saying things. I told Aaron that I wasn't going to enable him and that if he wanted my help, he was going to need to make these changes. That is like
it's already hurting the kid.
Big line crossed there,
Yeah.
I think. He was furious, saying that I was acting just like his dad, who had abused him his entire life, and that he was going to do whatever he wanted with his money, quote unquote, and that if I stopped paying, that I was abusing too. My God.
Dude, this guy is such a manipulator.
Yeah.
So bad.
He told me that if I was going to do that, he would never speak to me again, and that would be unfair to Ethan. I straight up told him that was bull, and that we can still be in each other's lives, but at that point, I felt I needed to remove money from the equation, and he told me that I was making the decision to never see him again. But that was enough. I told him, have a good life.
Whew. I mean, finally, OP is like, I'm putting my foot down,
Right.
which is good. Like, that's like something that we needed to happen.
It did, but there's more.
Oh my God.
A few years later, I got a phone call from him asking about helping him getting into his Minecraft account, which I had gifted him. What a thing. What a thing. After years of literally no contact, just being like, yo, could you help me reset my password?
Oh my God. I wonder if this is the gateway ask to a bigger ask.
Right. But I couldn't help. And I also got a message from Ethan asking if we could see each other. I didn't respond because I didn't want to risk being manipulated by his dad again. I literally still get stress nightmares about him nearly a decade later. I know that a lot of this was my fault for not setting boundaries, but I didn't know that at the time. I'm just trying to move on. And the move I made, best thing I've ever done. The collective supported my indie game studio, so we're doing good things, including showcasing my work at the freaking Smithsonian. Wow. And now I'm the property manager for the building, and I also manage the community gallery. Seriously, life-changing stuff. Thank you for reading.
Wow. I mean, I think what we learned from this, I would love to hear, like, do you think OP did anything wrong in this? Do you think OP was enabling? And also, when does helping someone who is not doing well turn into enabling? I think in this case, it seems like OP did the wrong thing in terms of helping for too long.
The greatest intentions, of course.
Greatest intentions,
yeah.
but helping for too long. And it was really good that OP finally decided, like, this is not something that is okay for me to do anymore.
100%. It crossed the line here, but where does that line cross?
Yeah,
that is the big question.
It's hard to know.
Very hard.
And it also depends on like how long have you known this person. I think there's like this rule, or this rule is like, have you had more good days with them than bad? Which is like, and you can put that on any time scale. And the longer that you've known that person, the more like they could have bad days with you. So like Christian, I've known since kindergarten. He could probably be an asshole the rest of his life and would still be, he'd still have days left.
Dude, he's filled up his tank,
He's
man.
filled up his tank.
Time to floor it on the asshole pedal, if you ask me.
Right. So I think it's like, you know, someone who I just met or something, like you only need to have maybe like a couple bad days. We're like, oh, I don't know if this is a good thing.
Yeah.
And so I think it, like, what it seems like is there's probably a lot of maybe good days stored in the tank, and maybe that's why OP was so willing to. But who knows?
Who knows? But we would love to get your perspective. If you have any thoughts on that and any stories around that, we have a call line 440-508-6567. Hit us with the stories. We love you.
I love you so much. Also, I need to tell you about my date last night.
Oh?
That was not a date. It was just a friend. It was just a friend hanging out with another friend. No expectation of anyone driving anyone.
Stationary.
Friend
activities.
God, I got so chewed out for not driving her home. I apologize, to be clear. And we're on good terms. She wanted to hang out the very next day.
See?
Stop it. And for those of you that are like, oh, I see why Sam's single. I have been in back-to-back relationships since I was 16 for like 2-ish years, each one. So eat a fucking turd, bro.
Damn, these people are going a little
I
savage.
need to be single. I haven't been single for like all of my life, all of my adult years.
Let them know, honestly.
Yeah. So, and I just got out of a relationship since going back to Bali, and it was lovely.
There we go.
1 month.
1 month.
But it was beautiful and still on good terms.
That's right. Good terms all around.
My ex-girlfriend texted me this morning. Still on good terms.
Still on good terms.
Another ex-girlfriend just got married. Don't talk to her. But good terms with my cousin.
Your cousin?
Yeah, my cousin Max. They still talk.
Wait. You were going on all your partners and then a cousin.
Like, she's still on good terms with my cousin.
Oh,
my ex.
I was like, wait. You lost me for a second there.
I'm on good terms with, like, consecutively 3 exes.
That's very impressive.
Yeah. So get fucked.
Yeah.
I love you guys, but get fucked. But I love you.
I love you too.
My fiance's prenup demands are unfair. I don't see myself marrying him now.
The prenuptial agreement has turned into a disagreement.
I, female 37, recently got a lump sum for a career project that turned into a whole company.
Wow.
I got into an agreement with a company that has been reselling my services via out licensing and long-term corporation JVs. When I signed the paperwork, I felt like I had the opportunity to build a financial future but my relationship wouldn't be affected. This has not been the case, and I'm very put off to the point of breaking our engagement. By the way, this comes from Upper Yesterday 3710 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So we've been together for 4 years. I met him on the last leg of my struggle to get what has become my working life's motivation. This project has been all consuming, and aside from that, I only had time for my family. I have very good friends, but everyone is busy. I didn't date or go out. When Sean, male 43, came along, I was swept off my feet because I wasn't expecting to find someone that I like so much. We shared the same sense of humor, and I became really attracted to him, both emotionally and physically. Sean is divorced. He has average office assistant skills and works for a small government agency. Our salary gap was not a huge deal as I invested a lot on my project, so whatever money I kept for myself went to my priorities that are non-negotiable.
I really want to know what this project is.
I take care of my family and pay bills. He did have hobbies that he spent time on, but when I met him, he was in between jobs and had to wait 4 months until he became active at his new job at the agency. We were both thin on money. I was very happy to have a guy who didn't pressure me to wear certain styles. I am more of a flats and comfy clothes lady. When my ex before him demanded that I look trendy and said things that nullified my self-esteem, I knew he was on food stamps very briefly and chalked it up to a bad situation that was temporarily. There was a huge mutual acceptance. We tried to start a small consulting company, but it didn't work out. I noticed that he wasn't ready to co-manage, and after a long conversation, we mutually decided to call it off. We had been talking about marriage for a while, and when he proposed, the subject of a prenup was no surprise, as we had already agreed on having one. Even if I had nothing, I see it as a way to protect ourselves and each other from potential situations. I am in a niche market that deals with loss prevention, and I've seen people get into lawsuits. We had drafted a plan, but had some tense moments. He closed off at the lawyer's office and created a tense environment during our second meeting. Nothing that we had agreed on was getting followed through, and he kept asking for things and raising the bar. He got his own lawyer, which would have been okay, except that he never told me, and his attorney showed up and I didn't even know he hired one. We had to pause the prenup after he almost bit my head off outside of my lawyer's office when I refused to give him his daughter's share of my existing company. That's a no-go for me, and I'd rather stay unmarried. I had built that company to leave something to my children.
Yeah.
I'm the only parent looking out for them, as my ex has been kind of deadbeat. Sean wasn't even in the picture when I started it. I will not create a trust fund for his child like he asked. None of these requests have been previously discussed, but came up once since the lawyer showed up.
How are you gonna switch up like that? You're gonna be like, yeah, oh, we agree. This is how the prenup should be. We're just really doing it to cover our bases. As soon as he gets his own lawyer involved,
Game over, dude.
Huge red flag. He's sneakily hired another lawyer and is trying to steal what is essentially your life's work and give it to his kid just because he's like, well, on principle, you should do that because don't you love me and you love my kid?
I did agree to help her financially, give her an allowance, and help pay for a car. I also agreed to pay full health insurance and contribute to her college housing, contribute to her education.
Yeah, so already going above and beyond in terms of what like a step parent
Okay.
would be expected to do.
She has a successful mom, so my logic is that she already has someone willing to give her a good start in life since Sean isn't financially able to. His daughter is an adult, 18 female, while my kids are in grade school, and I need to make sure that they are taken care of while she's already at an age where she can get a job. Yeah, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
He's just being greedy about it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm not financially able to do this, but my new partner can do that for me.
Ooh, he's being a little leech. He's being a leech. No!
I offered to contribute to a fund for her first home, but it seems like nothing I offered was good enough. I love his kid, but I didn't raise her, and she will never see me as her mom, and I respect that. Her mom's family owns a business, and her mom owns her home in a very good area. It's not like she depends on me to have a good life. I wanted it to be fair since her mom, Sean, and I could contribute. So Sean and I had an argument because he sent me a breakdown of how much I'm supposed to make off my business over the next few years.
What?
I lost my temper because it felt like a gotcha situation. This is getting
He's like,
weird.
well, if you're not going to give my daughter shares of the company, then this is exactly how much money you need to be making in the next X, Y, and Z years.
Approximately, you're going to make this much, so X amount is supposed to go to my daughter, so I don't have to work.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
I confronted him about my own kids and asked what he would contribute to them.
Yeah. Hey, you give and take. All you're doing is taking.
He went silent. So I said I wanted their names on the deed to a piece of land that he owns but hasn't been able to develop because he doesn't have the funds.
Oh, wait.
She's flipping back.
She's trying to flip. She knows how to flip the real estate, though.
Dude, I mean, she's this successful. Of course she knows how to do all this stuff.
Oh.
He was surprised and accused me of trying to dilute his inheritance to his daughter and being generally unfair since she has less than what my kids will end up having. Well, yeah, because you're the lesser half.
Damn. Hey, did you hear that when you said that? My kids, your kids.
Oh.
My kids, your kids.
Oh,
It's almost
shit.
like your kids are yours and my kids are mine.
Good catch. I just wanted him to see my point, but I made things worse. We used to be able to talk outside of the prenup, but now, if I don't get his sarcasm, it's his dry behavior that is driving me crazy. He said he's surprised at my greed and accused me of ostracizing his child. I'm trying to figure out if I came across as a bad stepmother. Also, I'm not ruling out helping all our kids to start their own businesses if they want to, but I can't guarantee its success since we're not there yet. But you can be successful by tapping our profile and joining us live every weekday on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. How we feeling? Deal or no deal?
I mean, first of all, I think if I'm putting myself in the shoes of the daughter who's 18, right? Or it's like, forget it. I put myself in my own shoes. I have a step parent who's got like a money, right? Or like part of a company. It's not even really liquid assets that they're talking about. They're talking about like shares of a company. I'm 18. If she doesn't want to leave some of that to me and she wants to leave it for her kids, I think I'm old enough for her to have that conversation with me directly and not have to have this weird prenup middleman where it's like, if this is what you want, this is what you want. And I have to be okay with that because you're not my mom and those are your kids and you built this for them. That was your driver. I think it's really the biggest issue though is I don't even think it's not the daughter. It's the husband is being like
very greedy. He projected everything that he's doing.
This would be a big red flag to me that this guy is, suddenly becoming like militant about what needs to go down with the prenup.
Yeah, it's like you kind of planned it.
For him to hire his own lawyer behind your back after you guys had already agreed, like, we're just doing this to keep things smooth. Then he immediately does something to unsmooth the whole process. I don't know. He's the issue here, not you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Canceling the engagement sounded like the most sensible decision, and I'm astonished this was actually happening.
Yeah.
I don't know how to navigate. His last messages have been very hurtful, and he says I'm showing my true colors, and he told me, thank you for my dishonesty about how I truly feel about his daughter.
No.
He's not getting it.
He's the one showing you who he truly is. He's trying to weaponize his own daughter to make you feel emotionally responsible for really like something that needs to be worked out with her biological mom, who's successful already.
My best friend is pissed and threatens to put him on blast if he keeps this up. I'm confused since I didn't expect our relationship to end up like this. Am I the a-hole? And we have a update. I broke up with him since the whole deal felt like a bitter divorce rather than steps towards a married life.
Yeah,
Congrats, OP. Honestly,
good job.
decisions like this are the reason why you're so successful in life. And trust your gut. You're killing it, girl. Keep it up.
It's definitely for the best because this was not going to stop here. He's gonna
rag you.
It sounds like he was just coming for the money.
Penny and dime you, girl. Yeah, no. Good job getting rid of this leech because you're about to blow up. He sees it. He knows the potential.
Why is is it that people always project in these situations where it's like, thanks for showing your true colors? It's like, you're the one who did that, dude. Go build your own company, my guy.
Well, that's the end of that story.
It is the end of that story.
My sister was furious I got my first car at 16, so she stole it from me.
That's what you gotta do. Anything that I like of Riley's, I'm gonna take it.
When I was a teenager, I was originally saving to buy a scooter to have fun riding around town. But on my 15th birthday, my dad gave me an engine kit for my bicycle and convinced me to get a learner's permit and to keep saving to buy a car instead. By the way, this comes from Craggle Tom on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. Even after moving in with my dad, I continued doing odd jobs and earning money any way I could. But my dad asked his brother, my uncle, to teach me how to drive because he worked as a driving instructor for a while in the 90s. We started lessons at a community college where I drove around the parking lots and circled the campus. Then we went to country roads that few cars frequent. This repeated itself for a while till we finally decided to try cities and highways. We took it slow, 2 days a week, and I slowly got pretty good at it. Right after my 16th birthday rolled around, we went to the DMV to schedule a driving test.
Exciting.
I passed on my first try thanks to all the practice I got beforehand.
Samesies.
Not long after my license, my dad decided it was time I worked part-time for him at his business after school. I was happy because it would make me double the money I was already saving from odd jobs. I started at what was referred to as the bottom rung. I was doing the cleaning around the office, filing paperwork, handing out mail to employees, and doing just any basic task that needed doing. Before I knew it, I doubled my savings. While I had chosen to live with my father, my sister didn't. Dad still had a room prepared for my sister when she came to visit. For the first few months or so, sis didn't bother to come visit, but eventually Dad convinced her to come over one day a week on Saturday, and my dad always picked her up so I wouldn't have to see my mom. Thankfully, she didn't really want to see me either. My sister by this point stopped asking me for money or trying to break into my room since I was living in my dad's house and not my mom's. But she loved the game on the game systems we had at Dad's house. There was a PS2, GameCube, Xbox, and Sis's personal favorite at the time, Xbox 360. And Dad also had a decent sized flat screen TV to play games on in his den. That was practically a luxury back then, as those TVs were pretty expensive. Sis pretty much spent all Saturday playing games in the den and drinking Coca-Cola. That's probably the main reason why she even wanted to come visit, since she didn't have an Xbox 360 or flat screen TV at Mom's house. Eventually, just over 6 months of working at my dad's business, he approached me with an offer to find a car I liked. He said if I found a good, reliable, used one, that the price was right, he'd help me buy it and would put it on his insurance. I was ecstatic, so I started looking at local ads and found a silver 98 Toyota Camry with under 50,000 miles on it for sale.
Pretty good.
It was in great shape, save for the fact that the rear bumper had been dented, a few windows were broken into, along with a badly cracked windshield because it was vandalized by some thug. The seller offered it to me at $3,500 with the damage, but my dad talked him down to $3,000 because of the money it cost to get it fixed. I bought the car and it went right into a local body mechanic my dad was friends with. He went to a junkyard and pulled parts of another Camry of the same model, and we used to fix the Camry I bought.
Very cool.
And when we went to pick up the car, it looked almost brand new because he had replaced the broken windows, pulled any dents there were, and touched up and shined the paint with buffer. I was overjoyed and thanked him and my father profusely. I bought the car, but my dad paid for all the repairs. He never told me how much though, but that car was my main ride for the next 10 years, if you can believe it. I definitely can believe it. And I eventually sold it to a cousin on my dad's side for his first car, but that's not what you're here to read. When my sister first saw the car in Dad's driveway, he asked who it was. Sis, hey, whose car is this? Is someone visiting? Me. No, that's my car. Sis, no way. Me. Yes way. I just bought it and Dad helped me get it fixed. It runs like new. Then my sister got really quiet and went back in the house to play more video games. She didn't really speak to me for the rest of the time she was visiting that week. I started driving the car to and from high school and got a fair amount of attention for it.
Ooh, looky here.
Many of my classmates were asking for rides and whatnot, but me being a stickler for the rules didn't give any rides because I legally wasn't supposed to for a few months since I was a teen driver.
That's true.
My sister, however, had complained to her mother after going back home about my new car. Somehow, she couldn't process the fact that I had even gotten a car and she didn't, even though she is 3 years younger than me and was 13 at the time. Okay.
That's what I was going to ask. I was like,
old
oh,
is
well,
she?
it wouldn't be fair if she didn't get a car and her brother got a car, but she's 13 years old.
Ugh, dude. She started making a stink to her mom about how she wanted a car too. And mom called me on my cell phone to yell at me for starting this problem. She's literally
What?
13, dude. This
So
is what 13-year-olds
why is the
do.
mom entertaining that? She's 13. She's like, OP, you have to give her your car. And he's like, Mom, she can't legally have that car.
I am barely legal enough to have
Yeah,
this.
what are you talking about?
I told her there was no problem. I bought a car with my money I earned, and I'm now driving it. And if sis wants a car too, she can either work hard and save up like I did, or hope she gets one as a gift. Mom just got really mad at me and said it really wasn't fair. I pointed out there really wasn't a fairness issue at all, as sis wasn't even old enough to get a learner's permit yet, let alone a car. Mom just said I wasn't being supportive of my sister's feelings, and that when she is old enough to drive, I should at least lend her the car when she needs it or give her driving lessons. I bluntly said that wasn't happening, as I bought it with my own money and it would be put in my name when I turned 18. Plus, she couldn't dictate what I do with the car because I didn't live with her anymore. And I had no idea of what kind of good or bad driver she'd be in a few years. And with her habit of taking my stuff, I wouldn't let her anywhere near my car keys. Mom just angrily huffed and called me a jackass and hung
Your
up on
mom's-
me. Yeah, good on you not living with her.
Yeah.
Imagine waking up every day and dealing with this.
Yeah, I mean, your sister probably liked this because of your mom. She shouldn't live with your mom.
I thought that was the end of it, but it wasn't. My sister started visiting less after that. She got mad at me one day for washing my car outside. The following is paraphrased from what I remember. Sis, what are you doing? Me. I'd say it's pretty obvious. I'm washing my car. Sis. Yeah, I get you're doing that, but why bother to do it yourself? I mean, you got money. You can just take it to a car wash.
Who is this?
Me.
I hate
And
her.
where's the fun in that? At least I don't have to spend $10 to run it through a machine if I just take the time to wash it myself every so often.
Also never does that good of a job.
It really
I
doesn't.
just got my car clean. Doesn't look clean.
Sis. You're just showing off because you have a car. Me. Showing off to who? You and I are the only ones here. Sis, who rolls her eyes. Oh, come on. All my friends keep talking about you and your stupid car. It's not even a cool car. Just a shiny silver turd you think looks nice. And you won't even give me a ride in it yet. Me. Because I'm mandated by the law not to have any passengers for several months. And it may be just a Camry, but I like it. And I really don't care what you think about it. My sister then, in a fit of anger, picked some dirt off the ground and chunked it at the side of my car.
She sounds like a brat.
Dude, I would just hose her down.
Yeah.
I just sprayed the spot with the hose and it looked like it was never there. So my sister just stomped back in the house and didn't talk to me again.
Good.
After that, she only came over one more week again. When she came to visit, she always had a big backpack with her. She'd bring clothes and other stuff in it. She didn't keep many things at my dad's house. But the next morning, when she left, she was wearing the same clothes, which was unusual because she never did that back then. She said she'd die if she wore the same outfit 2 days in a row. I later found out the reason for this. When I went to the den, PlayStation 2, GameCube, and original Xbox were destroyed.
Oh my God.
And the flat screen TV had part of its screen smashed. The Xbox 360 was also
Oh my
missing.
God.
I then realized she smuggled it out of her backpack. The other game systems she smashed and left what remained of them sitting on the TV stand. I checked the various games for systems, and sis had removed a bunch of the discs from their cases and stole them as well. She took all the memory cards too. When I told my dad, he was pretty mad. He called my mom, and she actually said that since I got a car, letting sis keep the Xbox 360 and the game she stole was the least he could do.
This is ridiculous.
This is
This mom
crazy.
is just letting her daughter get away with everything. She smashed up all of their stuff.
These are now worth some money, not a lot, but that's like,
Yeah, but I mean, like at the time,
yeah.
that's a lot.
She smugly said that sis didn't want to come visit anymore. Dad angrily told her she better stop sounding so happy about it, or he was gonna make her pay for all the damages.
Do that.
Mom just snorted and finally allowed him to talk to my sister. My dad was pretty heartbroken. Sis had done all that. He'd been trying so hard to get her to appreciate him more. But Sis admitted over the phone that she hated him for divorcing mom and for her taking the Xbox 360 and destroying the TV and other game systems was, as our mother called it, compensation for her pain.
I feel like the mom probably told her to do it.
Dad could have called his lawyer to sue for more custody rights, but he believed that if she didn't want to be there, he wouldn't force her. From then on, over the next decade, I barely saw either my mother or sister. Dad didn't bother trying to get the Xbox 360 back. He said that it and the other stuff Sis broke were just things that could be replaced and bought new ones. But I could tell he was really hurt by what mom and Sis had done. He actually left my sister's room pretty much untouched for the next few years, but she never come back to use it. And hopefully, if you want to hear more stories like this, you can come to our podcast platforms, wherever you listen to podcasts, on Apple, Spotify, and search up OK Storytime for more stories like this, more happier ones or more sadder ones. Just come check us out.
Check it out.
From the way my sister is now, though, you'd never guess she was the same person. She's extremely ashamed of her actions back then. Okay.
Never mind.
And she wishes she could take it all back and apologize to Dad. But since he passed away some time ago.
Oh,
that's
this is so sad.
She grew up and became a
She
better
grew
person.
up.
We visited his grave recently and she cried over it. I'm really not sure how to end this story. I don't even have a moral quip or something to say. Edit, fix an error, commenter 1, man, your sis and mom were straight a-holes, not gonna lie. OP replied, yes, my sister and I get along fine now. She's also aware of my Reddit post, but she doesn't want to read them because anytime she hears stories about how she used to be, she wants to cry. Currently, she's living in an apartment I helped set up for her, and there's cameras both at my place and hers to keep an eye out for crazy mother. Comment 2, it sounds a lot like your mom was probably whispering terrible things about your dad and you to get her really against you guys. It's a shame. My mom tried the same thing with my sister and I against my dad, who lived with my mom. Luckily, I was smart enough and old enough to ignore her and make my own decisions and opinions. My sister, not so much. Sorry you had to deal with that. It's a shame. But major kudos for being such a hard worker at even a young age. Comment 3, to be honest, it sounds like sister was a typical 13-year-old sister with no perspective of a difficult situation. Mom probably played that to her advantage. OP, I'm glad to read that you and your sister have repaired your relationship and that she's grown up. Commenter 4, my guess is your mom filled your sister with lies to turn her into a weapon against him. It's very common in divorces. OP replied, she didn't have to do much. My sister was already against our father because he was the only one who really punished her for being bad. My mother was a huge enabler, and because of it, my sister developed a complex of what was mine should be hers too. I worked hard to earn and save money, but she wanted to steal it any chance she got and completely lost her crap when my money was no longer within her means to try and take. And that's the end of the story. Makes sense.
Yeah. But you know, she's grown up and now it seems like they have a much better relationship and that's good.
Yeah.
That's all you can ask for.
And that is the end of the story.
I asked my friend to split cabin costs since his girlfriend's joining us, but he's furious with me. My friend, male 47, and I, female 43, booked to go to an island we've both been keen to go to. We booked a 2-bed cabin, and because of the popularity of the place, we had to book and pay 10 months in advance. We split the cost 50-50. I'm seeing what the issue here is already. If you know, put an ICU in the comments. By the way, this comes from local honeydew on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So 2 months before we were due to go, he meets someone and they commence dating. The holiday comes up and understandably, she was a bit uncomfortable with him coming with me. I was given an ultimatum, either she comes or the entire holiday is called off. I didn't say yes immediately because I needed to check with the accommodation as the island has a limited number of guests allowed and I needed the okay from them first. My hesitation wasn't taken well. They thought I wasn't keen. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. I understand to an extent saying, oh, I want my partner to come with because, you know, she doesn't necessarily want me going on a solo trip with this other another woman, but you can't just expect that change to happen immediately, especially when, you know, with Airbnbs, sometimes there's a limit to how many people you can have. And if this is, you know, a specific accommodation that only allows certain people, a certain amount of people. It's pretty rude that they're just expecting OP to immediately say yes. I got back to them within 24 hours and said I'd gotten the all clear for his girlfriend to also come and she could book plane tickets for her. A week later, he informed me she had the tickets, and I asked him if we could discuss rebalancing the accommodation costs now that there were 3 of us coming, as it should now be a 3-way split. Can we do a poll? Would you guys do a 3-way split or keep the 50-50? Should they, if they're the girlfriend and him are sharing the same room? So do 50-50 or 3-way split. Addie. I was surprised that he responded with anger. As far as he was concerned, the accommodation was paid for and it was wrong and greedy of me to expect from his girlfriend. He told me that he was paying for the entire holiday for his girlfriend, so it was still going to be just him and me paying. So it was unfair of me to not pay for half. I told him that there's 3 adults, 3 people, 3-way split.
Yep, I totally agree.
Agreed. If he chose to pay for his girlfriend's third, that was his choice and nothing to do with me. And there is more to this story.
Oh.
But John is back.
Here I am.
So let's catch him up.
Hello.
Basically, OP was supposed to go on this trip with one of her best friends or her close friends.
Yeah.
And they were going to split accommodations 50-50, and I think everything on this trip 50-50.
Right.
But then this guy gets a girlfriend, and the girlfriend's like, I don't want you going on a trip alone with this female friend. And so she gives an ultimatum: either you take me, or we cancel the trip. And so OP says, yeah, I'll check with the accommodations, which makes them mad, and agrees to the girlfriend coming. And now he's saying we're going to keep the 50-50 split. And OP is saying, I want to do a 3-way split.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? That's all we know.
Sophia, one of my biggest pet peeves, there's the great unvenmoed money sent incidences.
It's not
Of
good.
2018.
Yeah.
With me. It's some people on the show. I've heard it many times.
We've heard it.
I do not like this at all.
Yeah.
Look, if everyone going is like cool with it, great, why not? But yeah, generally I feel like if you're gonna go and like get the benefit of everything, at least offer.
I think I would always offer to pay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do think that even though you are splitting a room, I think when there's more people in an accommodation, it just
makes it all like there won't be any potential begrudgment going into it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, for example, like I've been on a couple trips where, certain people get their own room and I have to share with like 5 people and we all split.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just
wait, one person gets a room and then you have to share with 5 people in a room?
No. Like for example, it was beds. It was like a couple was there and they had their own room. And then there was like 4 bunk beds. And so we each got one bed. Actually, I think I shared a bed with someone.
You had to share a bunk bed?
I had to share a bunk bed.
Sophia, do we need to revisit this case? And
I mean, it wasn't a great trip, but But anyway, there were other problems.
There's other problems at hand here.
No, but I mean, we split it all the costs equally.
You at least
which
split the
I
costs
think,
equally. Yeah, totally.
He told me his girlfriend was going to buy me a cocktail to say thank you for the accommodation. But if I was going to insist on a split, that I could forget it and buy my own damn cocktails. As he couldn't believe I was being so selfish.
The cocktail makes
so
me
funny.
even more like. I would almost rather you just like not
even pay,
not pay. Like, oh hey, here's a cocktail. I'm like,
get your cocktail out of my goddamn face.
Get it out of here.
That's so funny that he's saying it as if she's, losing something massive. He's like,
yeah.
Well, I thought because you were going to be gracious, we were going to get you a little cocktail, but now you're all selfish. No cocktail for you.
Oh no, my mojito is gone.
No.
What will I ever do?
The thing is, a cocktail is $15, and I was currently covering half of her accommodation costs, $600.
Boom.
Ooh.
Stop it.
I don't think I was the a-hole asking her/them to cover her share of the accommodation. I haven't even met her yet, but they thought I should cover her costs because it was already paid for. Am I the a-hole for insisting she pay for her component of the cost? And there is an update.
Just send them the money. Okay, they've already paid for it. Great. Just
Venmo.
send them the money that will turn it into a 3-way split.
I literally just send the $600. I just think it's weird because he's saying, oh, well, I'm paying for her whole trip. No, you're not. You're just paying for your trip and making OP pay for hers.
Yes. Sophia, this is insane thing. Are you ready for this?
No.
It's called a calculator.
I've never heard of such a thing.
I know it's insane. Just like stay with me for a second.
I don't know.
You can use this alleged calculator to figure out how they can split the money around so it could be a three-way split. It is a possibility. You can do it, Sophia.
Okay. Update. There is an update, though.
Here we go.
Thank you, everyone. Interesting to see various lines of thought. It seems there's a split. Also, wait, we had a poll. What was the poll?
Oh, yes.
I didn't see what the answer to that poll was.
There we go.
It seems that we have 100%.
100%.
100% of people say three-way split, which we agree with.
If someone asked, do it. Come on now. Yeah. Easy. Do it anyways, but.
Thank you, everyone. Interesting to see various lines of thought. It seems there's a split between people that think everyone pays equally, no matter what. Those that think a couple sharing a bedroom are treated as one person cost-wise. And those that think the cost should be split, taking into account the shared areas. 1/3 per bedroom, 1/3 shared spaces. With this in mind and everything else going on, I called the accommodation, discussed options, then called my friend. I explained to him that we'd made the agreement to split everything equally when there was only 2 of us going, but I no longer felt that agreement was fair. I suggested the third option, splitting the cost of the communal areas 3 ways, but set cost per bedroom, and also stated that any food/activities, etc. wouldn't be split anymore. Oh, wait! That's even more interesting because it means, I'm going to read that again. I suggested the third option, splitting the cost of the communal areas 3 ways, but set cost per bedroom, and also stated that any food, activities, etc. wouldn't be split anymore. We'd each be responsible for our own, and they could decide as a couple how they were paying for themselves, which also implies that OP was paying for food and other activities for the girlfriend.
Maybe, or maybe that they were like 50-50 splitting
50-50.
it before.
No, that's what I'm saying. Paying half of those.
So she's getting food, activities, everything.
Which is a completely different argument than just, are we splitting it 3-way? Are we splitting housing 3-way or 50? Because now it's like you're literally paying specifically for her.
Yeah.
Not just for the room.
And also she was saying like, oh, we split it up by the is she almost like a square footage kind of a situation?
Which is funny because that is something that you do for like rent, when you're renting a place.
Renting makes total sense.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever done it for
trip.
Airbnb.
Like for a trip, this seems like we're just getting so deep in the weeds. I'm like, guys, let's just split it 3 ways.
No, that is why I think that just splitting it equally is the easiest thing to do.
It just gets to, it's like not even worth it at that point.
Just split it 3 ways.
Just split it.
It didn't go well at all. He didn't see why he should be out of pocket because I decided to go against our agreement that I'm paying 50% of everything. Again, this is an agreement that they made before you added someone to the trip. Kind of strong-armed someone to the trip.
Totally, actually.
Said either we don't go or my partner comes. I stuck to it and said that I'd be willing to negotiate the accommodation costs, but there was no way I was going to pay half for his girlfriend's activities or her dinners and drinks. That's ridiculous. That's even more ridiculous than just the housing.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous for him to think I should be paying half of his girlfriend's costs, especially since she's a complete stranger and he'd already asked me to change all of our previous plans to suit her. He called me a B word and told me I was acting crazy, which is when you end the friendship.
Dude.
I think
Are you kidding me?
I think that if you're especially a male friend ever calls you the B word in anything that is not jest, I think that's like very strongly considering ending that friendship.
I totally agree. Yeah. And it's like this guy, you've had this friendship with OP. Yeah. You're getting into this new relationship. The new relationship sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to take my glasses off for it. It was so terrible.
I didn't even want to look at it.
I didn't even want to look at it.
Oh.
And you're like, I don't know, like it seems like a classic case of like changing for the person in the relationship.
Yes, it is. It's prioritizing this new relationship over your friendship. And I think there is, to a certain extent, something to making your partner feel comfortable and stuff.
Totally.
Especially, they're going on a solo trip with a female friend.
Yeah.
But I mean, also you should be able to trust your partner. You shouldn't be sacrificing this
Yeah.
friendship. I personally, if my partner went on a solo trip with a longtime friend that he had before me, I wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, I need to be on that trip.
But Sophia, you're a secure person in a secure relationship.
Yeah, it's totally different.
What? What?
They've never heard of that before.
What is this?
Well, I didn't know you could even have that in a relationship. Huh?
Beats me. Doesn't everyone just cheat on you?
What?
That's what the girlfriend thinks.
Yeah. I stopped him and said that from that, I don't think this holiday is going to work. And I had spoken to
Thank
the
you.
accommodation and I was going to cancel as of today. I told him if he still wanted to go, then the accommodation would hold open the booking for him for 72 hours. And if he confirmed with them, I'd instructed them to hold on to $1,800 as what he'd contributed to the booking and refund. Oh, and as that was what he contributed, and refund me the rest as and his girlfriend and him would have to pay the hotel to finalize. Okay, so basically saying she was going to cancel, but if he still wanted to get the accommodation, he could. She wouldn't
Right.
completely take that away from him,
Totally
which is
fair.
very nice of her, not
Yes.
completely taking that option away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If they didn't confirm, I'd get the refund for the whole amount and then forward him his share. Yeah, I forwarded him the 50%. Yeah. He went quiet, then told me that since I was changing the rules at the last minute, I should leave the entire accommodation payment because it wasn't his
Dude.
fault that I no longer wanted to go, leaving them in the lurch, and I would be ruining his holiday with his girlfriend. So now he's like, since you're changing the plans and you're not coming, you should still pay 50%.
And also, he's like, because now you're ruining the holiday with me
Yeah.
and my girlfriend. This was literally
Now
a
you owe
trip
me
for you and OP.
emotional- Yeah, this wasn't your holiday with your girlfriend.
What are we talking
He's
about?
like, you actually owe me emotional damages now. I told him I was canceling and I would definitely not be paying for any accommodation I wouldn't be using.
Good.
I might have been a little petty when I told him he'd still be paying for his girlfriend's costs. It'll just be a little bit more than he was expecting because I was no longer going to subsidize them. I canceled my flights and the accommodation and emailed him all the details. And there
Good.
are some relevant comments, but before we get into them, John, do you have any thoughts, any advice for OP? Did they do anything wrong here?
I mean, not only did they do nothing wrong, I feel like they did everything right. And
I
like,
agree.
hey, look, I'm going to cancel it, but I'll forward you over the details so that way you can like
Still
continue it.
go on this if you want
want.
to.
And that's it. And then you end the friendship because clearly this person has like changed.
Called you the B word.
Yes.
Is prioritizing their girlfriend over you.
Like in insanity, absolute insanity. But you know what's not insanity?
These donations.
These donations from MJ Grow. Thanks for the $5. Move over, Miss Rachel. Make way for Queen Sophia. Her Royal Highness. And then another $5 donation from MJ Grow. She needs to ask, why do I need to pay for you to get your pee-pee wet? A great question.
Literally. Yeah.
Come on.
Come on.
Also, I just had a funny thought from MJ Gro's comment. What if Opie's like, you know what? I am going to pay, we are going to do the 50-50 split. They're my girlfriend now.
They're my girlfriend.
Oh, yeah, I'll pay
now.
for the vacation. It's my
Yeah.
girlfriend now.
As long as she's also, I get 50% of time with her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you'll
Sorry,
just have
buddy.
to deal with that.
Yep.
But there are some relevant comments, so let's get into them.
Ooh.
Jules Me 10 says, wow, I am so sorry. They both are immature. I bet you she is young, offering a cocktail and then taking it back. She is young or broke or cheap, not someone you want to go on a nice trip with. I would say, since there are so many requests by her, this has become a trip more about her and therefore needs to be split 3 ways. How is it fair she gets to kick me out of the cabin? Sadly, you may lose a friend over this. He is obviously siding with his 2-minute jealous girlfriend over a long-term friend. OP says she's 51, so the oldest. I don't know her at all, never met her, so can't say whether she's cheap or broke. And Tippy Tappy Slappy says, who is this guy to you? How did you meet him? How long have you known him? I cannot fathom someone expecting this from someone else. It sounds like an oblivious, self-centered sibling taking advantage of a family bond type of entitlement. This can't have been the first time he has done something this inconsiderate. OP says, I'd known him for 5 years as a friend. Yes, I'd had some issues with him for lack of empathy regarding others and some general selfishness. He was a mid-40s guy that basically never had a long-term girlfriend. I just sort of went with the too used to doing his own thing to pay much attention to it. We have traveled together before, together and in larger groups. I have issues in the past with his lack of planning, leaving a lot up to me, but his entire personality seemed to change overnight when he started seeing this new girlfriend. Nothing was good enough. Before he'd at least discuss things, talk options, this time was like hitting a brick wall. His way or no way, decided this was what was going to happen without talking to me, and then got angry when I wanted to discuss it first. And a last comment from OP says, I haven't kept in contact with them for obvious reasons, but through some mutual type of friends, I found out the following. They planned to go, but tried to find cheaper accommodation on the island, so let the hold expire without making any contact with the accommodation, which, does that mean, are they going to get the refund there?
So from my understanding, so OP had already gotten her refund, but it's like, here's the like accommodation details, so you could book it if you do it in time or something along those lines, and they let that time expire.
From my understanding, everything was booked up completely that weekend and for the next 6 months. Ooh, they lost the option to use the cabin, and someone else immediately booked it when it became free. There's a wait list.
Aha.
I received back the full deposit and immediately transferred his portion to him as I stated I would. Never got an acknowledgement he received it, but it was an account I had paid into previously and my bank assured me it was good. But I want to assure you that you can join us every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile.
Assured.
A mutual friend told me the ex-friend was pissed off as, against my advice, he had bought non-refundable, non-transferable plane tickets and refused to buy travel insurance, so he's out the cost of those fares about $3,200.
Dude, I mean,
should have just paid the extra $600, dude.
Also, like, I don't know, just take the plane tickets and find some other accommodations.
Literally could have found anything else.
You're just gonna lose $3,200.
Well, the thing is that OP said that she has to plan most of the things, so it seems like he's just a really poor planner.
Dude, I mean, that is like Olympic level.
Olympic level poor planning.
Bad planning.
Yeah, $3,200 is crazy.
Yeah.
And that because I pulled out, his holiday with his girlfriend was totally ruined. Once again, this was supposed to be his holiday with OP, not his girlfriend. And I owed him an apology, and the cost of the fares not going to happen. Myself, I booked a holiday back at the island where I am in a single apartment by myself and plan to have an awesome time. Good for you, OP. Leave these stupid people behind.
Get out of here. Entitled mom and son demand $29,000 from my dad. What should I do? And this is OKOP Show, where we read the craziest true stories on earth. I'm John, and Riley, what should they do?
If you want them to like stop talking and they're just being very annoying, just give them the money.
Pay him off.
Pay him off.
Pay him off. You
Hush
sign this
money.
check. Literally, hush money. I sign this $29,000 check. You shut the hell up and get out of here.
You shouldn't ever hear you again.
I should never hear from you again. Honestly, depending on how annoying they are, which I'm going to guess is insanely annoying, it just might be worth it.
It's just really how bad you want them to shut up.
How bad is it? $29,000 bad?
Hush money's legal. Donald Trump does it.
That is true. Good God, that is true. And this one comes from Sir Delia. And they say, okay, so I've followed this subreddit for a long time now, and I've enjoyed listening to Reddit stories over on YouTube. There we go. So I feel it's time I shared one of my own stories, and this is going to be long, so please bear with me. OP, we got you. We're bearing.
All right.
I'll begin by saying that I, 25 male, come from a very well-known West African country, and I come from one of the 3 major ethnic groups in my country. My country has a lot of oil, and my father, 64 male, is an engineer and worked for a very big oil company here before he retired a few years ago. He's the second of 3 children, and due to his job, salary, and position within the company, he became the entire family's breadwinner. And I'm guessing they mean that in the context of like not just like his wife and his kids, but like his brothers and parents and things of that nature. His elder brother had 7 children with his wife, and his younger brother had 2 children with his late wife. And my father trained each and every one of them.
Trying to do what? Be an engineer?
Bro, to live life right, dude. Granddaddy giving them lessons.
Crazy.
Granddaddy giving them lessons. He sent them all to school through their nursery to primary and secondary schools. And when they all graduated from high school, he gave each of them the option of either going to a higher institution like college or university, I believe, or helping them start a startup business of their own.
Whoa.
Yo, this is dope.
Father of the decade
This
right
is dope.
here.
So he's literally taking like potentially like what 10, 15 somewhere in that kids.
yeah.
And he's like, and also it seems like he's like paying for private school. through,
Yeah.
like nursery, primary, secondary, all that. And then after they get out of all that private schooling, he's like, yo, do you want to start a business? And I'll help you, fund that. Or do you want me to pay for your college? Dad is breaded. Dad is breaded. This is crazy. This is awesome. I love this.
Yeah.
This is fire. Every Christmas, we'd travel to the village and he would buy 50-kilogram bags of rice, bags of beans, tons of groceries, specialty dried fishes, and so much more that he would distribute to the entire family. So that kind of confirms it was the whole family.
Yeah.
Aunts, uncles, etc., etc. He catered for his siblings, cousins, old friends in the village, as well as their respective families so much, and it sometimes offended my mother because while he took excellent care of us and she was never against him helping his siblings out, she felt he was making them overly dependent on him.
I see. Yeah.
Interesting.
He's doing it from the kindness of his heart. Like,
Dude, he absolute heart of gold. And
Yeah.
I think like what a great way to use your insanely high. I mean, bro is earning some serious coin. And what a great thing to do with it. Like invest back into your family and make sure everyone's set up straight. I think it kind of depends on how exactly it's framed.
like I could see if they're becoming overly dependent on him, where they're like, instead of me working today, I'm gonna wait for uncle to come through with his like
Catering, like he said, like they said catering. So is he just buying everyone extravagant dinners all the time? But like honestly, so I'm from what they've described so far, I think like paying for all of the schooling, especially up until the end of high school,
Yeah.
that's just investment in education. So that's fantastic. And I love that.
I think the problem is people are taking advantage of him,
Yes.
and he's doing everything right.
Yeah.
But like people are like,
Yeah.
oh, he's doing this, I'm gonna make sure to get my little thing out
And the
of
mom
him.
is clocking that.
Yeah.
And she's like, yo, you need to kind of like push the brakes a little bit because people are like, oh, you're spending a ton of money? Word. Let me like get that or whatever else. And then maybe he's just so kind that he's like, nah, I'm
He
just
doesn't
gonna
care
keep
because he
doing
can provide, which is
because he can do it. And I'm sure
Yeah.
it gives him joy.
Yeah,
to like to provide
100%.
for his family. Like it sounds incredible, but I don't know. Yeah, that's a good theory. Let's see. So he opened up a thriving business for his elder brother's wife and stocked up her business with all the necessary wares. And he did the same for his younger brother. And yet, whenever they'd have a problem, they'd choose to call him instead of solving even the most basic problems by themselves. There we go. So you start a business. Usually when you start a business, it's like, I have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like the buck ends at you.
you wear
you
all
have-
the hats.
You wear all the hats. You have to figure it out. It looks like, he has all the capital. Probably brilliant dude, right? Who's like been so successful in his life. So they're like, yo, instead of figuring this stuff out, we can just get investment money and solve our problems with the brother. And he's probably running ragged trying to earn his crazy income. And also, if you peep this, he retired a few years ago. He's 64. So like early retirement, and he's still doing all of this
Yeah.
for his family. This is all a preamble to show you that he really cared for his family. This involves my father's elder brother's wife that we'll call Rita. So this is the sister-in-law, basically,
Okay.
and her eldest son, who we'll call Chris. The sister-in-law Rita is a woman in her 50s, and Chris is the
Her son.
nephew, her son. The nephew Chris is in his mid-30s. When the nephew Chris was born, his mother despised him because, given our tradition and culture, she felt like his pregnancy forced her into a marriage she did not want, so she took out her frustration on him.
Oh.
That's really sad, especially for Chris. When he was 11, my mother was a newlywed, and on one of her trips accompanying my dad to the village, she saw how the sister-in-law Rita physically abused her son, which is pretty common here under the guise of discipline, quote unquote. And out of fear for his safety, my parents asked his father to let Chris come back with them to the city so they could, in a sense, foster him as their own to remove him from that abusive environment.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. And like, yeah, once again, like, and this is obviously they have to,
pay for Chris, which is a lot, but like even more, like it's one thing to, you know, kind of pay for someone's childhood if you're like very well off. It's another thing to raise them under your household.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like I'm just getting the sense that the father is just like absolute heart of gold. I was barely a year old at this point. Chris lived with us for roughly 18 years. He got a good education, and when it was time to go to university, he had a lot of problems gaining an admission. In my country, all the universities, both state and federal, are under an organization, and everyone takes an annual exam based on your intended course of study, and those who do the best are admitted into the institution of their choice. He had taken this exam for about 6 years, and each time he had fallen short and hadn't received an admission. Wow. So he literally for 6 years straight, it's like taking the SATs, but like the SATs, it seems like
ACTs whenever I went to school. That was a big thing.
Wait.
It changed from SAT to ACT.
Oh, it flipped.
They did the flip, the pendulum.
Dude, that's so whack because I murdered my ACTs because of like
What'd you get?
Is 31? Does that sound?
What the f? You got 31?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I got, but
That's
I got like
crazy.
a low ass score on my SATs.
Oh.
And hadn't received an admission. So my dad gave him the option to continue trying or to put it on hold and learn a good trade for about a year. And after that, he'd open up a business for him and maybe he could try to get into university later on if he still wanted to. I'm sorry, I have to pause right here. This is gold standard parenting right here. Gold standard parenting. Not everyone is good at school. Get him to learn a trade. He will probably like instantly make the equivalent of like 60 to 70K USD. Blue collar episode this day, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He chose the latter option, which was to learn the trade and start the business. And he was sent off to another city to stay with a family friend who taught him all he needed to know about the given business for free. And after a year, he returned back home. So genius. I love it.
Wow.
My father gave him what is equivalent to $12,000 to begin a business.
Whoa. Okay. I was talking to someone from Africa,
Yeah.
and he said you would be very well off if you just had 10K in certain African countries.
Yeah, Naima, my girlfriend is from Sudan, and yeah, if you have like $12,000, you'll do well. And Opie says over here, $12,000 is a very, very big chunk of money, especially with the low cost of living here compared to Western counterparts. And they got some fire like apartment. You want to talk about like being a digital nomad? Dude, Africa is lit. And also, especially how lax our tax laws are here. My dad offered him a check for that amount and he refused, saying how small the money was. Interesting. My dad had already found a really good space for him to run his business and had paid and rented it out for 2 years as well as paying his water and electric bills. Could you imagine someone pays for the rent for 2 years and paid all the utilities like up front? You have literally a 2-year runway in this space before you have to like pack it up. That's the off rip. The $12,000 was initial capital for him to stock up on his wares without having to worry about rent or any other critical expenses for 2 years at least. So correct me if I'm wrong, Big Protein. It sounds like the dad paid for basically the office space for 2 years and gave him the 12K capital on top of that.
But yeah.
Which is a very significant amount where they're at right now.
That's crazy. So he basically gave him just 12K.
Yeah. This is
And
probably
a
1
place
to
to
2
work.
years of runway. Like,
Whoa.
maybe like independent,
Yeah.
more like solo, but like, yeah, he could afford to take on the expenses on his own because he probably would have quite a bit of money in that time. And even if he did have difficulties, knowing my dad, he would have jumped in to help. However, Chris rejected the money, saying how small it was, and he was expecting at least 17 grand.
Buddy, what? 17? This man is like setting you up for success. He's got you a nice spot. He gave you money. You got rent for 2 years. Like,
although the space my dad had rented for him was in a prime location, it was too small for him, and that he had found a much bigger space a few blocks away, and he had expected my dad to pay for that as well.
yeah, he might think about it once your business starts booming, my dude.
Just get the business to the point where it's popping off. So like you literally said it's in a prime location. Like this is like us getting an office in Santa Monica. It's like us renting a house in Santa Monica and building a whole studio in it. What are the
Yeah.
odds of that? That's crazy.
Start small.
Start small, baby. He said he had big ideas and didn't want my dad to repress his ideas.
Oh,
So he needed the appropriate support. Oh, come on, bruh. My mother just about lost her head hearing this and chastised him about how ungrateful he was being. She asked him how many people were willing to do things that my dad had done for him. She asked him why he couldn't use the funds as initial capital and began his business to strive to make it successful so that he could afford to move into the bigger space after the 2-year lease was up. He got upset and called his mother, with whom the relations had improved significantly over the years, and she tore my dad a new one. So remember, this is the mom that they like kind of rescued him from low key. But I guess they're doing better now. She screamed in our native language about how after the stress he must have been under by not getting into the university, the least you can do is to make sure this dream of his is nurtured fully. Why are you being an akanshi, which means stingy? Okay, so why are you being stingy? Why are you not giving me more? You have the money, so just do as he asks in the way he asks. Whoa. If you died today, would they bury you with your money? You are not setting a good example as an uncle. Tufiakwa. I'm going for it, y'all. Tufiakwa, which basically means God forbid. My father did not respond and promptly ended the call. That is crazy. That is crazy. Like, you should give the money. You're going to die someday. You can't take it with you. Are you kidding me?
bro has done the Lord's work already.
The Lord's work. The Lord's work. Later on, his dad, my father's brother, called him, and I don't know what was said after that, but he came and picked up the check where he'd previously dropped it and muttered a half-assed thank you before leaving. My dad also received a call from his brother apologizing for his behavior. Fast forward 2.5 years, and now we're in 2016. I was around 18 or 19, and my immediate younger sister, 12 female, was now in secondary school, and my other siblings were also in primary school. So the financial burden on my dad was quite a lot at this time, so he called Chris and had a talk with him. This was sometime in October, and my dad said that since Chris's business was going well, but that perhaps it was time for him to move out from our home, maybe by the new year, so that way the financial constraints could be alleviated a bit. Now, mind you, Chris had lived with us for 18 years, since I was barely a year old, and he was 11 to 12 years old at that time. I was 18, 19 years old, so he now is 29 or 30 years old. So bro is like basically 30, and he has a successful business that he got 2 years of rent
Wow.
and capital from the dad. And the dad's like, yo, could you, like, where it's getting a little tighter with money, could you move out and that'll help ease our living costs? He never paid for rent one day or paid for utilities. My dad always did that. He never bought his own food or groceries either. My dad did this for the almost 2 decades that he lived with us. When my dad asked him to move out, he said nothing and, like before, called his mother. So what do you get? Call your mommy every time?
Bro's
you-
30
Dude.
on his mom.
Come on. And he probably, like, his dad's, the dad's house is probably lit, like catering, all kinds of crazy stuff, like they were saying. So he doesn't want to move out. He's like, nah, this is lit and it's free. I'm chilling. I have no idea what was said, but she called my dad in a fury that evening, screaming her head off about how my dad had never really cared about her son's success and brought up the $12,000 incident from a few years earlier. She said something along the lines of, you want him to leave your house while your wife's sister is still living with you. This is how little you care about your brother and his family. I guess his sister-in-law, you know, his wife's sister is living in the house too. And she's
Gotcha.
like, well, what about your blood?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What about your family related by blood? My son doesn't need you or your charity. It low-key sounds like he at least wants it. My God. My God will help him to survive with or without you, and so on. The wife's sister she referred to was a young niece of my mom's who had lost her parents due to militant actions in one of our cities, and she was barely 15 at the time.
Oh.
That is disgusting. After that call, he packed his things and was gone in a few weeks. This was 2016, and I haven't seen or heard from him since then. Wow. They view my dad as a bad person for not giving him the amount of money he wanted and for asking him, a 30-year-old man with a thriving business, to move out. This is nothing in the grand scheme of things. There are more cases of entitlement in my family, and it's really, Baffling. Okay.
Oh.
Wow. We're going to take a quick. We have the title of the next part is Entitlement Galore Part 2.
There's more.
But dude, I mean, can you imagine like you bring in this kid who had, physical abuse from his mom,
Yeah.
bring him in, you pay for his private school all the way through. I mean, again, like, I'm sorry, dad has a heart of gold. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care that we're assuming anymore. I know he's a good guy. So you have, a great father figure, great parents, whatever, great home, you get all the chances in the world. Dude, imagine paying for 6 years of schooling, dude, 6 years of university. And then it's like, all right, that didn't work. No, don't even sweat it. I'm gonna, get you into a trade, hook you up with that, get you a skill that can earn you some money, then pay for rent for 2 years on your office and give you, a good chunk of money for startup capital.
Why are you not grateful?
Dude,
Like, you have no excuse, man.
why? Why? It doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't. And I feel like the entitled mother's really skewing his view of the dad.
Riley, I need you to pull out the tinfoil hat because we got a tinfoil hat conspiracy.
Okay.
Well,
What do you got? What do you got?
this one's not too crazy. I feel like it's pretty realistic, but
Okay.
I feel like Chris's mom is jealous because the dad, like jealous and like envious of the dad because the dad brought in Chris, clearly provided him a fantastic childhood and like all these opportunities. And the mom is like, I don't want you to like love him like the golden parent. I want you to love me like the golden parent and see him as, the evil, the bad guy. So she's like influencing him to your point of like, why isn't he 12K? Why only 12K? Does he not love you? Does he not love you? Does he not even care about you? Like I could totally see that happening and her basically spinning this tale and kind of coercing and convincing him to go against the dad. And, maybe Chris still seeks his mom's approval because it's like, from that traumatic experience of a child is like, oh, if I could just, have been right, quote unquote, or whatever the case, whatever the exact situation is, like still kind of seeking his mom's approval and listening to her words and kind of getting brainwashed by her.
Dude. Yeah, no, that is spot on. That's a really good conspiracy. I like that.
Dude,
I'm on board.
We're professionals on this podcast. We are completely unprofessional professionals, but y'all, we got to get into Entitlement Galore Part 2.
Dude, I'm ready. I'm ready to see what the chaos is.
What a part name for this update. So I reposted one of my oldest stories yesterday. This is a continuation. For this story, there's 3 main people to consider: entitled mother, entitled son, and my dad. As I stated in my previous post, my dad went through a really difficult financial crisis a few years ago, beginning in 2016. He had invested heavily in the real estate market at that time, and the market was doing horribly, so it did affect his finances to a great extent. Let me introduce entitled mom and entitled son. Entitled mom is my dad's cousin in his inner 60s. She has 6 children with her late husband, all within the range of the late 20s to early 50s. Wait, 6 children in the range of the late 20s. Like basically like almost 30 to early 50s. So you were having kids, 6 children over
span of 40 years, 30 years,
20, because it's like 30 to 50 roughly.
Wow.
30 to 50 roughly, but a little bit more, like over 20 years. I mean, that's I mean, you got to be going from 20 to 40, like going crazy. Wow. Or like maybe 18 to 40 or whatever. My goodness gracious. Well, good gravy. Her son, whom this story revolves around, is in his early 40s now. In 2009, entitled son lived in the village with entitled mom, where he ran a fairly successful pineapple farm business.
Oh, that's what he was doing?
Pineapples, dude.
Diced pineapple.
Diced pineapples. Okay. Okay. Raps, by the way, y'all. We're dropping new shows. Riley just referenced one. Okay. Raps. It could be out. It could be out by the time you're doing this. Check it out. And then there were allegations levied against him by the family of the deceased that he had killed their relative. Oh my God. The police were involved and they found no incriminating evidence. So like most things in my country, the case went unsolved. However, the deceased's family were angry and sorted to take justice into their own hands. They planned to have him killed, and this frightened the entitled mother.
Whoa.
Oh my God. She called my dad one day in 2009 and told him what was going on and begged him to let entitled son
stay and live with us in the city far away from the village because she feared that if he remained in the village that he would not survive. My dad, not wanting to see her lose her child, agreed to help him, and so entitled son arrived at our home in early 2009. He was in his early 30s at this point. So, and again, for clarity, this is a whole new mom and son in the family.
Gotcha.
Looking like. Upon arriving, he got a job at a bar and grill fast food restaurant where he worked at for about a year or two before my dad helped him get a decent job at an insurance firm. Once again, dad totally hooking it up with a fantastic career, right? He had an entire room and a bathroom all to himself and never paid rent or utilities. Yo, they're living in a compound.
They have to.
Dude, he never paid for his own food or bought his own groceries. Whenever an appliance broke at home, my dad would replace it and entitled son would take the broken one. Okay, so kind of like a hand-me-down. From flat screen TVs, refrigerators, beds, mattresses, etc., my dad let him take them all. He had them fixed and gave them to his sisters who had just moved into our city. My dad took care of him and his needs as though he was his own child.
Wow.
My mom wasn't exactly thrilled about him moving in with us in the beginning because it was so sudden, but given the life or death nature of the situation, she accepted it. When my dad retired a few years later and got his gratuity, he assisted most of our extended family financially, and in that spirit, he gave the entitled son a check for what amounts to roughly $6,000 to help him out, and he was really thankful because he said he'd never been gifted such an amount of money before, and he didn't think people were that generous. But remember, his name in the story isn't son.
It's entitled son.
So we gotta be ready.
What does he get entitled about?
We gotta be ready for he's gonna live up to his name, apparently. We lived in relative bliss until 2016 when my dad's financial issues began. Around the period of that time, we did struggle a lot. Most days there was no food at home. Oh my goodness. Wow. I mean, that is a complete switch from where he was. And to assist his credit, entitled son used part of his savings to assist the family back then, but it was never free. I wonder if that means like, hey, now I'm making a living. I'll pass you, $1,000, pay me back like 12, something like that, maybe. However, it didn't really matter because in that moment, without that assistance, we probably would have starved. He would buy food items and groceries and also lend my dad some money. All these expenses were repaid every few weeks. Okay, there you go. So yeah, it was repaid when my dad received some money because the assistance received from entitled sons were loans and you always pay your debts. And secondly, my dad didn't expect entitled son who was struggling and figuring things out to cater for the family. Things generally continue this way until 2018 when there was a resurgence in the real estate market in my country. My dad was finally able to sell both properties for around the low six figures each. Keep in mind, we said that 12 grand was like big.
Mm-hmm.
We said that 12 grand was big. That influx of cash pushed us out of the red and into a more comfortable position. After that sale, my dad's first major purchase was a car because we'd sold both of our cars during those difficult years. There weren't a lot of people who came to our aid during that period. So as a way to show gratitude, my dad gave the entitled son a check for about $5,000 to $6,000. Now this is where the entitlement began because I think we had check number 1 of $6,000 pre-market real estate market crash. And then this is another $5,000 or $6,000 after he got his comeuppance when he sold those properties. Entitled son knew how much both properties sold for. So shortly after my dad bought the car, entitled son came to him with an itemized list informing my dad that he had decided to go back into the agricultural sector. He wanted to start another pineapple farm, but not just pineapples. He also wanted to grow oranges as well. As a male child, he had inherited some plots of land in the village after his father passed away. He planned on using that land for the business. Nothing crazy so far. By this time, it's been almost a decade since he had fled from the village, and most of the pressure and threats had died down, so he felt safe returning. And besides, he wasn't actually going to live there, seeing as he still had a job in the city. He simply wanted to set it up and have his mother run it for him. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, what do you call that? Passive income?
Passive income, baby.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's go. He had already discussed his plans with his mother, and she was excited about the idea. And then he handed my dad a list of everything he needed to pull this off. and he needed an initial capital of what amounts to be roughly $29,400 from my dad to begin. Once again, reminding you all, we had $12K was a significant amount. My dad was stunned. He asked him if he realized how much he was asking for. My dad said that if he had even saved a fraction of the money by himself, then maybe he would be willing to see what he could do, but he expected my dad to pay for everything, which wasn't okay given all 4 of my younger siblings were in boarding school, which was kind of expensive, and he was also making college plans for them as well, so he wasn't in a position where he could give out almost 30 grand like that. Bro is still funding all of these kids,
Yeah.
dude. And not to mention, like, we don't know how old all the children are in the family. Are there any other kids that he's supporting, like we mentioned earlier? This annoyed the entitled son, so he asked my dad to loan him the money instead. But again, my dad refused to do this because there was no guarantee to make back that money in a year from a startup business. My dad offered him 10%, 3 grand, which, I mean, totally fair, of what he asked for free to try to help him out, but that wasn't good enough for him.
Bro, maybe you should make a business plan and business model and present that to him, and maybe you could maybe get 15%. But
Literally,
like come on, dude.
present the plan, and then, I mean, like the dad said, which, by the way, remember, he's already an insurance agent,
Yeah.
so he's probably doing great in his career. You know, dad's got the Midas touch. Everyone he touches turns the gold, gets a great career, makes a lot of money. Why don't you use that to seed some of the funds for it? Maybe, I don't know, start playing. I don't know how pineapple oranges work, but I know about oranges, though. I'm from Florida. So you start it a little bit and then be like, yo, look what I did with this little money. I invested, $1 grand. I got 5 grand back.
Yeah.
Now the dad is like, oh, you got, the proof is in the pudding. If I give you 5 grand, 10 grand, maybe you can triple that and, pay me back some interest or whatever. Like, come on. I can't forget the statement he made when my dad said no, nor can I forget his tone. He said, so you say you won't give me this money. Okay, no problem. And then he stormed out. He didn't care about my dad's reasons or my siblings' well-being. All he cared about was himself. This was on a Tuesday, mind you, and on Saturday, his mother came to our house unannounced from the village. Neither her nor entitled son had informed my parents that she was coming. The things she said that day, she unleashed every ounce of resentment she had for him. Prior to this, he'd always looked upon her as a sister he never had and treated her as such. Because I believe this is the wife's sister.
Yeah.
We had just had lunch that afternoon when entitled son went to pick her up from wherever she got dropped off. She went on a tirade and she began by telling him that what he was doing was wrong. It had been a few years, but I'll try to recall her words to the best of my ability. How can you treat entitled son this way? Is this fair? You've sold properties for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what is $29,000 to you? You've forgotten how entitled son supported you when you were struggling. You have forgotten how he spent his salary on you and your children every month. And now you cannot even help him with a small thing, even though you have the money. She said all of this in front of my dad, mom, me, entitled son, and my young siblings. My mom sent my siblings to their rooms because it was no atmosphere for children. I can't remember everything she said, but I do remember this part. You have also forgotten about the numerous times when I used to bathe and clean your mother. My grandmother had dementia during the later years of her life, and unlike in Western countries, the concept of housing for senior citizens isn't very popular here, so instead, the family usually takes care of them on their own. My dad viewed her as a sister, so he asked her to please look after my grandmother for him since he was in the city and she and my grandmother were both in the village. My dad visited every month and ensured that they weren't lacking for anything. He gave her monetary gifts or food items, etc., as a way to say thank you. So while she was in fact helping him, my dad did show constant financial appreciation until my grandmother passed. Through her tirade, my dad said nothing. He is extremely quiet and hates conflict, but my mom is the exact opposite. Dude, I get the sense mom rides. She's a ride or die. She goes to bat.
Let's go.
Let's go. She doesn't take BS from anyone.
Let's go.
Let's do it. When she brought up my late grandmother, my mom raised her voice and began to chastise her about her behavior and began pointing out every single detail of the extent my dad had gone to help entitled son. Do you think your son would be alive today had my husband not agreed to let him move in with us?
Oh.
I mean, dude, that's kind of a hammer. That's kind of a nuclear.
Oh, yeah.
And it's true. She said this while I'm pointing at entitled son. Riley's loving this. Weren't they after his head after the allegations made against him? How many people have given you $6,000, not once, but twice, free of charge? How many people would have opened their homes to someone who is suspected of murder? But my husband did it because he loves and values his family above almost anything. Yes, entitled son helped us out when things were really bad, and I'm thankful, but he was repaid in full. Do you not care about him training his own children? If he gives you that money, do you not see how that would disrupt the plans he's made for his own kids? How can you both be that selfish? How dare you come into our home and raise your voice at the man who has protected, fed, and housed your son for a decade? We're not done, Riley. We're not done.
What? There's more?
There's more. How dare you bring his late mother into this? When you take care of her, did you receive nothing in return? Did he never provide for you financially or look after you while housing and taking care of your son as well? This shut entitled mom up. Dude, come on, bro.
Stand on business.
Dude, stand on
Business.
business. Tell him, Riley.
Golly.
Tell him, Riley. Oh,
It's gonna be
man.
fired up.
Dude, for real.
Dang.
Moms, dude. This is
The battle of moms.
The
Dude,
mom is
moms
momming.
fighting are scary.
uh-oh. I thought you were gonna say another word that starts with S. Sexy.
Okay.
Does
No,
Riley like
I've
that?
never looked at two moms fighting and said, "Oh, this is so high." I've never ever thought that. And I don't
But
think I
you see
will.
a beautiful older mature woman,
Yeah,
and what's going through your mind?
great. I love her.
And then she's defending your honor, and you're like, yo. We're playing around, ladies and gentlemen. It's a John and Riley solo
In
episode.
this
You know what time it is.
environment, no.
You know what time it is.
Another, but
Maybe another
I'm
Friday.
not buying it, man.
Oh
I'm
my
not-
God. He's not
getting this
taking the bait.
trap.
He's not taking the bait, ladies and gentlemen. We're having fun and we're making content. All right. So much more was said, which I can't remember before my mom asked entitled mother to leave, to show you just how little shame he had. Entitled son continued to live with us for a few months before eventually moving out.
What?
After all of that, he still continued to stay and mooch. My dad refused to ask him to leave because he knew entitled son was already making plans to leave. When all of this went down, entitled son was in his late 30s. So he was
Wow.
old enough to know better. In his late 30s, has a great career as an insurance agent that the dad hooked up for him, obviously helped out, gave him a ton of money over the years. I don't know if he's yet started maybe he hasn't started the pineapple farm, but dude is set up good.
Yeah.
He can move out. Same as the first guy. You are good to go, buddy. You
Yeah.
can move out. To this day, my dad never lets any member of my extended family visit. Not live, visit. He often wonders exactly where he went wrong or what heinous crime he committed against them. And it always upsets me whenever he talks about these events because of just how much pain it still causes him
Aww.
to this day.
Oh.
Dude,
That's so sad.
why is it with these people with hearts of pure freaking gold? Absolute, just the sweetest of hearts.
Why are you going after him?
Get treated this way, man.
It's so sad because I think they know, in a way, they can just bully him into.
And again, yes, he did have. It seemed like there was a 2-year stretch where he was it was looking bad financially, but on either end of that 2-year stretch, he was doing pretty good. And also, let's talk about this. If he hadn't have spent all that money on the family before the market crash, let's say he had just saved that up, would he I feel like he low key kind of gave away, if he hadn't have given away all that money, would he have been totally chilling
Yeah.
in that 2-year period from 2016 to 2018? You know, it's possible he would have invested that. Too,
Yeah,
and kind of like lost it during that 2-year period. But
There are things, but just at family, like
dude,
they just see a guy doing super well off, and they're just mooching off of him. Because like honestly, he's like a millionaire.
oh yeah, probably multi-millionaire.
And
Like
they're
if we're saying he ended up later on 2 properties selling for 6 figures.
dude, that's impressive here.
That's probably getting up. Yeah, that's impressive here. Like that's like probably combined like $1 million here. So
Yeah.
like a millionaire here. Maybe that's like equivalent to like, relatively speaking, like 10 million or so where he's at. Potentially, you know, we don't know exactly, but a few million to 10 million, something in that range probably. So I remember at the beginning of the story, I'm like, oh, it sounds great that he's helping his family, but the mom knew. What are our takeaways here, dude?
I think the dad's been super solid. I love that he chose the right wife. The dad, like, holy
Dude,
cow.
the parents, like greatest parents of
Greatest
all time on the
duo
show.
of all time.
Dude,
honestly.
I mean, they really crushed that.
They complement each other very well.
Also, OP, like just the way that OP speaks and writes, talks so highly of their parents.
Yeah.
Seems like a great person as
And
well.
he didn't really like badmouth anyone. He just kind of told it how it was.
Yes, he was really
Very-
just like observing the unfortunate situation of how his dad was so pained after giving so much. He's just feeling for his dad, who they clearly love so much, right? But you know, I feel for the dad, but I'm happy that what he did for his family,
Yeah.
just beautiful,
Very
just
beautiful.
really beautiful. And you know
Stand
what?
up guy.
There's probably stories of OP, the other children, and other children that were very grateful and just like made the most of it.
Just
gotta love
sucks
it.
people abuse relationships like that.
That sucks. But you know what we can't abuse?
What's that?
The viewers' time, because we are going to give you another story, guys.
Let's
I'm
go.
trying to transition over here. Let's read into it.
This is the last one of the day.
All right,
We're gonna change episodes. We're gonna change clothes tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Get ready for a fresh new set of clothes, ladies and gentlemen. All right. This one's a shorty, but a goodie.
My wedding was a constant source of stress. My entitled friends didn't make it any easier.
Divorce him.
Divorce your friends, divorce your husband,
Everybody.
divorce your parents.
Divorce the wedding.
we get divorced up in here. I, 29 female, and my husband, 31 male, were recently married earlier this year. He is the love of my life, and I'm so happy to start this chapter in our lives, but our engagement/wedding was riddled with drama and issues from the moment we got engaged. By the way, this comes from user AnnoyinglyAnonymous9 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, my husband's longtime coworker and friend, who we will call Fred, was upset that my husband did not tell him he planned to propose and was irritated that he was not consulted on the type of ring he should buy. My ring is gorgeous and my husband didn't need any help. In addition, Fred automatically assumed he was going to be the best man and did not take it well when my husband asked his father to be his best man. After that, he started making fun of my husband to his coworkers and even joked about my husband's medical issues and didn't stop even after my husband had major surgery to the point where HR had to step in. Dude, Fred wants your husband.
That's crazy.
I think secretly,
Fred wants it.
yeah, Fred's like, why aren't you marrying me? I mean, maybe not, but
It's like when
clearly Fred thinks he's like the super best friend, number one. He thinks he's number one on the MySpace chart. He's like not. He's like number 7.
He's
number
not even in like
8.
the top 5. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
he's
it like
not in your
when-
top 5?
in elementary school when you bully the kids, the person you like that kind of vibe.
I think, yeah, that's kind of where this is at right now.
Okay. All right.
As if that wasn't enough, here comes all the issues with 2 of my bridesmaids, who we will call Brittany and Tina.
Paid him.
Those are,
Paid him already.
yeah, it's
They're bringing
over.
me issues.
It's
I don't want
over. It's
don't want 'em.
over for them.
Divorce him. Divorce.
My husband is an only child whose female cousins are more like sisters to him, so we automatically wanted them to be a part of our big day. We invited them out for a day of shopping/thrifting, paid for lunch, and asked them to be bridesmaids. Brittany was super excited, but Tina had no reaction and simply said, "My mother told me to expect this."
I told you they sucked. Did I not just say that?
Tina is acting mysterious.
Come on.
As the weeks go on, I am group chatting all 4 of my girls with updates and ideas, and I get no happy or excited responses from Tina. At one of the family barbecues, she even had the audacity to ask me if I can send her the link to the dress on Amazon, as she didn't want to go dress shopping. I told her no, as all of my bridesmaids have different body types, and I wanted to make sure they all looked good in the chosen dress. Things continued to progress with the odd comments from them here or there, to a point where the day before we were going dress shopping, I called Tina, and my husband was with me, and made sure she was okay and still wanted to be a bridesmaid, as there were other ways to be involved if she was uncomfortable. And she assured me that she just didn't like dress shopping, but was very excited to be a bridesmaid. I think she's gonna be difficult. On the dress shopping day, Brittany calls me all upset, as she recently had a sinus infection, which is no longer contagious, but was told by Tina to stay home anyway. Tina, shut up. It's not, you don't get to decide who gets to go dress shopping. You didn't even want to go.
Listen, John called it.
I called it.
He did call it.
Sorry, I told the truth. My bad. Arrest me.
He calls it as he sees it.
Take me away, officer. Go ahead.
He may be unhinged, but he's right.
Take me away to the prison where everyone's right about everything.
Go ahead. I belong there.
I told Brittany that if she felt up to it, she could, and Tina had no business telling her what to do. We shopped for dresses and found a beautiful $130 dress that looked nice on everyone. Going up to the register, Brittany started to cry, as she wasn't prepared to purchase the dress that day. As she's in her early 20s with a minimum wage job, I assured her that I was going to cover it, and she was very thankful and said that she would pay us off little by little.
Oh.
Fast forward a few months, which, by the way, that was super wholesome. Love that.
Like that.
Not everyone in life is ready to drop $130 on a dress.
Go into debt.
John,
Go into debt for the bride.
John,
Florida
we're evicting
John,
you
get
from
out.
the prison where everyone's right. Now you're going to the one where they're
Everyone's
wrong about
wrong.
financial decisions.
Florida John is unhinged, guys.
I'm not wrong.
John is on one right now.
No, that's not John. That's Florida John.
I'm not wrong.
There's Suit John and Florida John, and
yeah.
this is Florida John right now.
My dress comes in stained and had to be fixed.
Ooh.
I called and told all the bridesmaids to watch their dresses carefully just in case. Tina picked up her dress without notifying anyone it was in, but Brittany called me and wanted me to go with her. Upon receiving it, her dress was covered in stains that did not come out, so a new one had to be ordered.
Jeez.
What is this? Where are these? What?
They're just like, are they getting the
Stained
dresses in?
dresses.
And just like having like paintball fights?
They're just
It's like
wearing
somebody who, the person at the shipping them out is just like the old grizzled, like I'm picturing like the Roz from Monsters Inc. I don't know if anyone's going to remember that off the top.
Wazowski.
The slug lady is like, yeah, that dress is covered in stains.
You just wanted to-
send it out anyway.
You just wanted to make that voice. You just wanted to do that voice.
That's so true.
That was just an excuse.
Dude, call. You got
There was no point for that.
That's the
You just
kind of
got called
person who
out.
sends out the dresses.
I think it was both at once. I think he sees the opportunity to do the voice, but it also does thematically fit.
Yeah, thanks, John. You're going back to the prison where they're right about everything.
Thank you.
John's
I told
playing
you.
devil's advocate right now. He's
I
like,
told
yeah,
you I'm
both of
right."
you were right, but both of you were wrong.
Okay, well, we picked up our dresses from the stain factory, apparently. Thankfully, all of the reordered dresses were fine. And all of the other dresses were also supposedly fine. I have a feeling I know whose dress is going to be messed up. It's going to be Tina's.
Tina,
Tina's going to have a big old stained dress that she doesn't even look at.
put her in jail.
Call it.
Why not?
Put her in dirty, stained dress jail.
Yeah, do it.
Brittany chooses to leave her dress with my sister as she has cats and doesn't want to risk it getting dirty. Leading up to the bridal shower, I decided instead of doing a traditional bachelorette party that I wanted something everyone could enjoy. So I chose a private paint and sip with all the important women in my life. My number one bridesmaid was too young to go to the bars. Brittany is artistic, Tina is a homebody, and my sister, a maid of honor, was up for anything. So I thought this would be a great idea all around. My maid of honor had to call me to help with the shower arrangements as both Tina and Brittany were not responding to her emails or texts. Typical Tina Brittany behavior.
She can't respond if she's in jail. If we're just, laying out all the facts here.
John,
Yes,
you are the gift that keeps on giving.
that's correct.
Thank you, John. The morning of the shower, Tina was 2 hours late for setup and told Brittany to sit down when she got there and proceeded to laugh at my maid of honor struggling to do things without help. While opening up gifts, Brittany faked being sick and ran out of the room because she couldn't stand not being the center of attention. Wow, I was kind of on Brittany. I was like a little bit on Team Brittany. Now I'm like, Team Brittany and Tina, they both suck.
Wait, so
Well, Brittany was the one who was like, couldn't pay for the dress, and it was like, we'll cover it, and you got it, and it's okay. And now they're just both being trash can
but
people.
is she running out of the room to get away from Tina being like
No, she was
mean?
just running out of the room like, oh my God, I'm going to be sick.
and she just
But she wanted to be the center of attention.
And OP is just being like, she just wanted the attention. She just wanted attention. After the shower, they both, along with their mothers, decide to leave and not stay for the paint and sip, as per Tina. They had more important things to do. I was so upset that my husband ended up changing his plans and crashing the bachelorette party and painting with us, since we had already paid for the canvases. After this, his whole side blows up with the bridesmaids calling me names and my husband sticking up for me, and all around lies being spread, including the lie that I was holding Brittany's dress hostage. After this, my husband and I sat down with Brittany and told her mom to air things out and advise her mom of the truth regarding the dress, as it still wasn't even paid for by Brittany, which was a major waste of time. My husband fully believes that that was just a tactic for them to try to convince him to call off the wedding. To smooth things over, my husband and I decided to let things calm down, as all the fighting was upsetting my husband's mom, who I adore. The morning of the wedding, the girls meet me at the hotel to get dressed / hair and makeup, and both Tina and Brittany looked and acted miserable. My mom had to quickly fix Brittany's cleavage because it was too deep, and Tina's dress was covered in stains.
there it is. There
Oh,
it is.
Tina's dress covered in stains.
Uh.
Why not? I mean, just don't, why make these people be in your bridal party if they're so awful?
You know what
Just
you can
remove them.
stain without worrying about it? An orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, you can stain the floor of your jail cell, Tina and Brittany. Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
Hey,
listen, I might be Florida John, but I draw a line somewhere.
No, not like that.
Oh yeah. Do we really want to bring up that line earlier, John?
Go ahead.
No, don't.
I'm not
it.
saying it.
Don't
Say it.
You
do
can't
it.
make me say it.
That's right. Got him.
To go to the church to set up the pew flowers and proceeded to annoy my husband and act sad for him that he was getting married.
Are they all in love with him?
People out.
Are they all in love with the husband?
I guess that's what they're acting like. Even the photographer had to keep subtly reminding Tina to smile because she was just standing there for all the photos at the reception. Brittany tried to run over my 16-year-old cousin to catch the bouquet and then cried when she didn't catch it. Tina told my aunt that she would only dance when the best man did. My father-in-law has Parkinson's, so did not feel up to dancing, but he did do a couple slow songs while she never touched the dance floor.
That's crazy. Because she knows that he's not going to do it.
Crazy.
Dude, come.
It's crazy, dude.
Oh,
These
Tina.
people are awful, and you shouldn't have
Yikes.
put them in your wedding party. But I want all of you to be in our wedding party that we have every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and TikTok. Brain fart. And if you're watching this in the future, you know what? We might even be live right now. So after this story, you might want to go check that out. Let's coalesce our thoughts here because there's a little bit more of the story left.
Let's coalesce.
Let this be a lesson. If you are a wife or a groom and you have a bridal party or is that what's the groomsmen party? The groom's party?
Grooms? Yeah.
I don't know. If you've got problematic people intricately involved in your wedding, hey, don't involve them, huh? If you realize these people are like gonna just be a constant source of stress and headache for you, don't have them be a bridesmaid. They could just be there and be upset, not intricately involved in your wedding. That's allowed. John's just going to tell you to send him to jail. I can already tell. I knew it.
There's plenty of cold jail cells to fill. That's all I'm saying, guys.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Is
Straight
it
to jail.
life? Do they have a chance of parole? I don't care. As long as they're behind bars.
long as they're
And
behind
that's the
bars.
moral of the story.
Is that how they do it in Florida?
yeah,
So
basically.
if her dress has
Pretty much.
stains, 5 to 10
Yeah.
years.
There we go.
If she's
There we
hitting
go.
on your husband, life sentence.
Life.
Straight to
Done.
jail.
Life, straight to jail.
Let's finish this story here. before we go to jail.
Yeah, better watch out.
We have not spoken to either of them since and have no plans to do so, as they have shown their true colors, which John would probably say is orange.
Orange.
Because of the prison jumpsuits.
Definitely.
Other issues for our big day include the photographer canceling 2 hours before our ceremony. We did end up finding another one last minute. Wow, that's actually super impressive. Flowers being wrong, the wrong cake, and the DJ completely ignoring our song genre requests. But 5-ish months later, my husband and I are so happy to be married and have no desire to ever plan another one. And that's the end of that story.
There you go.
My mom kicked me out of the house, but still wants me to pay for lawn service.
I ain't paying for crap.
And this is a direct OK Storytime submission. This is from one of you guys.
Oh.
So my mom and stepdad started divorcing last year. Together, they owned their house and 2 rentals. My mom stayed at the house and stepdad moved to one of the rentals. To my understanding, stepdad was getting the 2 rentals and mom the house in the division of assets once the divorce was finalized. By the way, this comes from more anger pleas on the OK Storytime subreddit. So last year at the end of the summer, my best friend / roommate and I were told that our landlord was planning on selling the rental that we lived in. So sometime around the beginning of next summer. We were already thinking of moving soonish anyway, since we were both finished with college and ready for a more adult house. But we still didn't like the idea of looking for a new place, since we were getting a great deal on rent and knew it would not be like that at a new place. My mom and stepdad offered the remaining rental at a discount at the limit of our budget, but would need us to move in much sooner than we were originally planning for when their tenant moved out at the beginning of fall. We jumped at the chance and were excited to have a bigger place. Since we were getting a discount on the rent, there was no negotiating / offer to have lawn or any other utilities included. Not that we assumed there would be. We had lawn since we have lived right next door to our previous landlord and a super small yard. Neither of us liked doing yard work, so we were pretty lazy with upkeep and kind of let it run wild. But we didn't mind the look of it, and there weren't any city regulations we were violating. This was a concern brought up in case we were fined, so we looked it up. We were planning on living there for at least a couple of years and would obviously deal with the lawn at some point when we were ready to move. Also to note, we didn't sign a lease or pay a deposit. We had agreed verbally that we'd be totally willing and kind of expected at least a deposit. But my stepdad had never gotten around to it. But again, we were planning on being here for a long time, so we weren't concerned. Then, not even a full 2 months ago, my mom texted me that she might be selling her house and was looking at her new living options because her current house was too expensive. We had talked about her keeping the house and her and stepdad's asset division before we moved in so that this wouldn't happen. Then, a week after the text, which again was very nondescript and not final, we were having family dinner and she said that we needed to move out of our house once she sells hers. Obviously, best friend and I were upset, but I was trying to be understanding of the situation. But we had talked about this last year before we moved in so that this situation could be avoided. It hasn't even been a year since we moved in either, so best friend and I frantically looked for a new place to live since we had no real timeline when her house would sell and we need to leave. We found a place and moved within a month of finding out we were being kicked out, so we weren't able to give a 30-day notice. Well, you didn't really get a 30-day notice.
Yeah.
You gotta leave. At the same time, we hadn't been living there a full year and we were told we needed to get out soon anyway. Both mom and stepdad were out of town the weekend we moved, so we cleaned the place and left the spare key. Both mom and stepdad were out of town the weekend we moved, so we cleaned the place and left the spare key, assuming we'd drop off our keys later. And I texted them that it was all theirs now. Then they text me back to back about how we should pay for the yard service, since we never got around to mowing, and cleaning service because it was common courtesy, and they had been doing us a favor by discounting rent until then. Now this pissed me off. They kick us out and then want us to pay for maintenance since we didn't pay a deposit, but it was their decision to not make us pay one. We were ready and willing to, and that all of a sudden they act like our relationship is that of regular landlords and tenants, and holding discounted rent over our heads to guilt us into doing whatever for them. I told them that we wouldn't pay for lawn service and it was perfectly clean inside otherwise. My mom then texts me calling me untitled, unempathetic, and disappointing. I've been super helpful and understanding throughout their whole divorce, and I was legitimately depressed because of it. And I've kept a level head the whole time we were being kicked out of her home. I didn't expect them to rent us their rental when we started looking last year. It was just super nice that the timing and budget worked. And besides the yard, we took good care of the place. I'm not understanding where I'm being entitled. I don't understand why my mom is making everything so transactional now. Like she does something for me, so I have to do what she wants to pay her back. Is that not entitled? I'm frustrated by her lack of long-term planning and how it's affecting my living situation and my life so heavily. Yeah, I mean, she's expecting this kind of landlord treatment, or at least like renter treatment from you guys, but is not giving that same landlord courtesy back. It would just be a lot more formal with an actual landlord, and she's trying to impose that formality, but also, you know, kicking them out with very little notice. And so it's kind of weird.
The short notice thing is interesting. I'm curious. I want more context for that. And then there's like other kind of interesting things because it's like family. I don't think it's that unreasonable to ask for them to pay for yard service.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like OP is making the assumption they're holding it over our head because we didn't pay the deposit and like other things there, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it's just common courtesy. If you're living somewhere, it's your decision to take care of the lawn, but if not, and the lawn needs to be taken care of when you move out, that's kind of like what you pay for.
Yeah.
And like the house, if it's unclean, you pay for that. And sure, that's like a standard, you know, landlord, non-family agreement, but I also think with family, that's still common courtesy. And the fact that like they're upset that their mom would dare ask for that is a little confusing to me.
I think that next time, if you ever have to like, you know, live in a family member's home or something, there's some sort of rental agreement, there just needs to be a lot more, like, you have to go through it a lot more formally so that you each, you know, you both know what the expectations are.
Do you think it's unreasonable to ask like, hey, the yard's a mess, can you fix that so that we don't have to?
The only reason, I do kind of agree on that part, because OP said, oh, like they were going to clean up the yard, but then didn't because they got pushed out quickly. But I do think that there's just a lot of, you know, like disrespect on the parent side as well in terms of just pushing them out. Because that was pretty out of nowhere when they were, it seems like OP and her friend were under the impression that they would be there for years.
Yeah.
And we're there for like half a year.
I think to say like, you need to do this, and then if they don't,
and then holding
like,
the money over
to
them,
like insult them and saying like, oh, you're so this and this and this, rather than like having an adult conversation of like, hey, look, like this is why we think you should, and like we would like you to do this.
Yeah, I feel like you could just say, I feel like the parents could have just said, hey, could you help us clean up the yard? Could you, you know, help us? Like, I know we had talked about you guys maintaining the yard. Do you mind, you know, doing that before you move out?
Yeah.
Sorry for but there was just a lot of lack of communication, I think. And also, usually, I think when you move out of a house for cleaning services, that's not usually tied with a deposit. Those are two separate things.
Actually, no, it is tied to the deposit.
Not, or at least in the last place that I went to, it wasn't tied. There was a cleaning fee and then there was a deposit.
Yeah, but if there needs to be a cleaning fee, that's taken out of the deposit, I believe.
There was a separate thing for,
Okay. I think that it's totally, we'll get back to the story, but I think it's totally reasonable to expect them to take care of the lawn, and I think it could have been communicated in a different way.
Yeah, I think so too. But her situation does not mean that I need to help her in every which way, even at the detriment to my livelihood. I've been helpful when I can be and never expected anything in return because she's my mom and family. But now I'm entitled if I don't do one thing to help her out? By the way, you can help us out by joining us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. But there is a little bit left to this story.
But in some sense, there weren't, in that they said they would pay for the yard at some point. And then when the parents were expecting that to be fulfilled, OP says, how dare you ask for this thing that I said I was going to do? Yeah.
I am wondering why like, was the switch up only because of the fact that your mom and stepdad just kind of randomly pushed you out? Or was, what was the original plan? I'm taking a break from them and limiting contact because of how everything has been handled in regards to me, but I'm still overthinking every interaction we've had the past 2 months. I'll add even more background context, but this already seems so long. I just want some outside perspective because my friends are obviously siding with me, and so are Bestfriend's parents, but did I overreact? I think at the end of the day, I think it's very unreasonable for your parents to push you out without having a proper conversation about, when you need to be out, because it seems like they never clarified that.
I agree, unless it was an emergency, which is unclear.
Which we don't know. It doesn't seem like OP was told that. Which again goes back to
they didn't really give a reason.
No.
And OP didn't give a reason.
Which maybe OP was never told a reason.
Maybe. Or maybe they just didn't include that.
Yeah. But I do think paying for lawn service is fair or is a fair ask on their end?
I think it's very fair.
Only because you also said that you were going to do that.
Whether it's family or not, like a normal landlord, I think it's still just decency. You leave the house in wonderful condition. If there was upkeep that needed to happen, if there was maintenance and that didn't happen because of you, it's decent. It's the law to do it. If not, if it's family, I think it's just decency of like, yeah, I'm going to, put this in the condition I got it in.
Yeah. That was the end of that story, actually.
My entitled best friend keeps ruining my birthday. I'm sick of her attitude.
I would be too.
I think this is going to be a very long story, but I'll try to make it a very long, short story. My boyfriend, 22 male, threw a surprise birthday dinner for me, 22 female, last year. He invited a few close friends of mine, and obviously my best friend, 22 female, was invited too. He chose a pretty decently priced restaurant. I was surprised. I had a blast. We had a great time, or so I thought.
The plot thickens.
By the way, this comes from Fuzzy Nudie Branch on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So the next day I was talking to my best friend about planning my boyfriend's birthday dinner. His birthday is like 2 weeks apart from mine. Ooh, mine's 5 days apart from my girlfriend's.
Ooh.
That's when I found out that she was actually upset with my boyfriend because she had to pay for her own meal during the dinner. She said, he invited us to your birthday surprise, so he should have paid for everyone's meal. You guys are already working anyways while I'm studying. You guys should have the money to spend. The audacity that he didn't spend the money on us.
Why didn't he pay for us?
Men should always pay.
Yeah, and I've always said that.
I do agree with that. That men should pay on the dates.
I think that should just be a conversation, and I've always said that.
Sorry, I'm old school. Old school gentleman right here. My girlfriend's friend paid for their meal. I took them all out to this place and they paid for their own meals, which I'm very happy for. Thank you, Emma and Julia, for being so great. You guys are awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Also, it's his birthday and we're going to go out for a meal soon. So, happy birthday.
Surprise.
I was speechless. Technically, we are working, but we just started working right out of university. We both got a decent salary above minimum wage, and we just entered adulting, talking over our phone bills, helping our parents out with house bills, because we still with our respective parents. We are saving up to get married, etc. They are handling business.
Yeah.
She was the only one who had a problem paying for her own meal. Everyone else were either like me, who just got a job, or like her, on their last semester of uni. She went on and on to me about how a host to a birthday party like that should pay for everyone's meal because that's just how it is. She didn't say any of this to my boyfriend though. So in the end, she did pay for her own meal, but she wasn't happy about it. Then she said to me, I hope you're paying for everyone's meal on your birthday's dinner. It's not nice to invite us and force us to pay for our own meal when we're celebrating your boyfriend. I didn't know how to react. I just said, sure, I'll pay. I was just in shock and was thinking more of my boyfriend's happiness to see all of his close friends there to celebrate with him. We had his birthday dinner with a few close friends because I couldn't pay for more than 8 people. Oh, he was surprised and had a wonderful time and was so appreciative. Fast forward to this year. We're getting close to my birthday, so I told my boyfriend what had happened last year about this whole who should be paying thing. He was kind of hurt what my best friend said and told me he didn't know how it was supposed to be, and he felt really crappy about not being able to pay for everyone. I told him I don't expect that from him, for everyone, because we aren't rich yet to be able to do so. No, that's not a thing.
You don't go to like a birthday dinner just expecting everything to be paid for you because it's not your birthday. Like what?
I had a freaking brunch on my birthday last year and I had to pay for my own brunch.
Hey, that's the world of being an adult, baby. Ain't nobody gonna pay for your birthday brunch but you. I mean, unless you know.
Yeah. They were okay friends. I said because of this, I just want the 2 of us for my birthday dinner this year. No friends, so you won't have to pay for everyone. Just you and me. He agreed, and that was that. A week later, my best friend texted my boyfriend to ask what his plans are for my birthday this year. He told her my wishes, but she was not having it and insisted that she wanted to be a part of the birthday and celebrate together. He told her that I was the one who wanted just the 2 of us dinner, and she said that was very boring of us. She was hurt by this. I feel bad. I love her. We've been friends since we were 16, but also it's my birthday. Don't I get a say on how I want to spend it? So am I the a-hole for not wanting her at my birthday party, or is my boyfriend the a-hole for not paying for everyone's meal? We have an edit. I'm going to read the edit real quick. Edit. Thank you for everyone commenting your thoughts and suggestions. Here's a little update. My boyfriend did clarify to everyone that they were paying for their own meal and drinks while he pays for his own and mine. My birthday dinner happened.
Oh boy.
So he clarified. He went back and said, hey, this is what's going to happen. Everyone's going to pay for their meal. He communicated clearly. I think that's fair.
I mean, I think it's ridiculous for like grown adults to not even just.
Well, she's a student in uni.
Okay, never mind. That actually makes a lot more sense now.
She was last year, but I don't think she's this year.
No, but it's like, it's still at the age where like people could realistically be like, well, I mean,
Dude, even in college, I would never ask my friends to do that.
how can you assume someone's going to pay for all your stuff because you're going to go to their birthday dinner?
I'm assuming this is just a hot girl, and she's like, I think everyone should pay for me. Blah, blah, blah.
Whoever thought that clearly is very entitled.
Yeah. Also, hate me in the comments. Hate me. I'm ready for it. Come and fight me.
I don't even know how people could hate you for that. It's like they're clearly entitled as hell.
You'd be surprised. Update. Alrighty, so my now 23 female, because New Year, boyfriend, 23 female, is taking me out for my birthday again this year. Well, there were some complications with that transport. He couldn't pick me up because reasons I'm too lazy to explain. Told him he could take a Grab. It's like Uber. But he doesn't like that idea because I'm not used to it since I always drive everywhere. I couldn't drive because my car was in the workshop. So he told me that tomorrow my best friend, 23 female, is picking me up and sending me to the restaurant, and she was passing by in that area on her way to her aunt's place. Now I know what y'all are thinking, but sometimes I'm naive and didn't think much of things. I genuinely thought it was just going to be a drop off. It's a surprise birthday. That's happening. The day arrives. She hasn't told me she's picking me up, and I'm like, okay, I'll get ready by 8 p.m. just in case. I was getting ready, and she calls me at 6 p.m. sobbing because she had a fight with her boyfriend, 24 Mel. I listen, comfort her, and while we talk, I was still doing my makeup. The sobbing ends, and she still hasn't told me she's picking me up. So I asked, by the way, are you picking me up? My boyfriend said you are. She replies, oh, yeah, I am. Forgot to let you know. Let me get ready now. It's now 7 p.m. I'm ready. She comes at 7:15. I get in her car, and she is in a screaming match with her boyfriend. The call ends, and she says, he wants to see me. Should I? Me not knowing him to say, I said, I don't know. What could happen if you don't? But in my head, I was like, man, can you do this after you drop me off? She stays silent. Her boyfriend keeps calling. She keeps dodging his calls. And I'm like, question mark? We reach a fork in the road, left, continue on our journey to drop me off, go to her boyfriend's place. Y'all guess where we went, right? I was like, smiling, I'm fine. Anyway, she goes to see her boyfriend. It's 7:30. They talk at his porch. It's now 7:55 p.m. Going to drop her off. She's at her boyfriend's doing this. I got out of the car and said, so are y'all done? Because I got somewhere to be. Can y'all just take a Grab if y'all want to continue? Her boyfriend said they're done. I sat back in the car, waited for her to drive off. I arrive at my dinner. It's now 8:20 p.m. I see my boyfriend with the biggest, guiltiest smile ever, and my closest friends beside him smiling and shouted, surprise! I didn't expect that, but I thought I was really happy for a second, and then I thought, man, that means my best friend is probably going to be here too. I sat down and asked my friends, what time did you guys arrive? They said, we were here since 7 p.m. When I tell you, I became so infuriated. That meant my best friend picked me up when we were already late and had the audacity to see her boyfriend, to reconcile their relationship, to make things worth. Her boyfriend also knew about my surprise birthday dinner. They both knew. But you know you can join us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile. We got a little bit more. What the
I think what no one's really talking about or realizing right now is that she's actually the main character.
Yes.
They actually both are the main characters, which is why they selfishly just like ruined the surprise dinner and made everybody wait an hour and a half for them because their problems are more important than everyone else.
Of course. Oh my gosh, their problems are bigger than everyone's else.
He forgot, you all forgot, but we're all just side characters in their story.
Dude, that is so...
Yeah.
So I would no contact after that.
Oh no, that's getting cut out of the friend group type stuff where it's like, if you're willing to just like do that and like literally inconvenience every single person.
Zero consideration.
Where you could just have that conversation at any other point.
Yes. Right after. Drop off, go have the conversation.
Any other time you could have had that conversation. Just selfishness.
I shoved the anger towards my BFF during dinner and enjoyed the time I had with my other friends and boyfriend. I had a good time. And since my boyfriend and I got an increment from performing well at work last year, he could afford to pay for everyone's meal at this time. He did it willingly, or that's what he told me. So BFF, shut up about that. BFF and her boyfriend did apologize to me for possibly ruining my birthday surprise, but I'm ignoring their messages for now because I'm too angry to reply. I will cool down before I reply to tell them nicely that they did partially ruin my day. Just send this and all the other relevant comments to this. But that's the end of the story.
Good job on you realizing I shouldn't send this right now. I'll wait. Because sometimes you send things in the moment, they get a little hot, they get a little heated, they're a little spicy.
Very spicy.
You might want to not hit them with the cayenne pepper right off the bat.
Yep. Sauce them up with some garlic.
Yeah, good on you for realizing you needed to take some time. But yeah, sorry that happened.
Yeah, that was
Sorry you had so many snafus with that person, but I'm glad that they're no longer a part of your life, or I hope they're not. And that is it